to best with the official Survivor YouTuber season rankings. The biggest collab in Survivor history, bringing your favorite content creators together to rank every season of Survivor from worst to best, with 4 separate live streams building into Survivor 43. Welcome back to the Survivor YouTuber season rankings. This is episode 3 now. We've gone over seasons 40 all the way to 21, but today we're ranking down some of the better seasons in Survivor history, seasons 20 to season 11. I'm joined by my co-host once again, Flynnmasters. How are you doing?
Doing well, like I said. To be honest, I'm glad I'm not hosting this week because these first 3 seasons especially, boy, I have some really strong opinions on them. I think we're a little too low on these, and I have them way higher. So I can't wait to actually, talk about them instead of just hosting the questions. But yeah, good to be here. Like I said, super excited about this podcast especially. And yeah, it should be fun.
If for some reason this is your first one you're watching the Survivor YouTuber season rankings, a crazy idea brought to you by me and Flynnmasters. During Survivor 41, Survivor 42, we thought, wouldn't that be so cool, bringing your favorite Survivor content creators together to bring one crazy ranking all in one, average it all out. That's exactly what we did, bringing your favorite content creators together. I asked for your best seasons, your worst seasons, rank it all in there. The best season you gave 42 points to. The very worst season was 1 point. After that, went to Excel, averaged it all out, and that's the official rankings right here. Now, I didn't give any instructions on how you did your rankings. For me personally, maybe a little bit of emotion, nostalgia the first time I viewed it, the gameplay, and analyzing as a Survivor YouTuber. We'll start with you, Nullified Take. Welcome to the channel. I'm so excited to be having you here on my channel finally. How'd you do your rankings?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Firstly, I feel honored to be doing this with some great YouTube content creators that have been on the scene for a lot longer than I have. So I feel like I'm the new kid on the block. And I also feel like probably I brought a different vibe to how I rank my seasons compared to what a lot of different YouTubers normally would do. For me personally, I'm very much a character person. So I love character over strategy. I love big TV moments, things that I can remember from a season. Like I want to be able to look at these seasons and still remember certain things that happened in the season, even if I haven't watched it once or twice or 3 times over after the season originally aired. So for me, characters was the biggest thing that I wanted to rank the seasons on. Like how much did I like the characters? Did I see a little bit of myself in some of the characters? How crazy were they? And then probably strategy as well. And how did it stay, I guess, true to the Survivor format? Because I feel like in recent seasons, we've moved quite far away from that. So that's probably, as an older school fan, somebody that watched it from season 1, those are the things that were really important to me.
Yeah, and I think we'll definitely get some debates going on this podcast with this live stream with how these rankings went, specifically yours. I'm really excited to get into that. And the first time talking to Once Upon an Island, Wes, live on here. I'm super excited to finally meet face-to-face with you. How'd you go about your rankings?
Well, thank you for having me on, everyone. I'm excited to talk about this. I feel like I've never officially put out any rankings of the seasons from my own opinion. I've only done through season 8. Everything else has just been fan opinions. So for once, we get into what my rankings are, I guess, which I've been waiting to do. So yeah, I rank these seasons, and I went, Russell, you told me to rank the seasons, and I said, okay, what are my requirements? And I just went strictly, if I were to be told you can watch a season of Survivor right now, in what order would I want to watch them from best to worst? And so everyone may not agree with it, and that's fine. But I went solely based on, if you were telling me, hey, let's watch a season, what's the likelihood I would say yes? And that's how I rank them. So I think the Nullified Take and I are a little bit on the same page, character over strategy when it comes to rewatching sometimes. Just the character moments drive me to loving the show. So
yeah, and that's exactly kind of what your whole channel is about, the story of Survivor. And now back to my co-host, Flynnmasters. How'd you go about your rankings again?
Well, like I said, unlike you two, I am actually more of a game type. Of course, characters are important, but I also, you can only have so many character moments, right? I do want good gameplay after a while. So that's big into me. However, I will say, again, with these first couple of seasons, some of them did break me. Like sometimes the cast is simply too good. Like the storytelling for a lot of these seasons, what we talk about is so good. Like it's just so up there compared to your normal Survivor season. So like I said, it's an interesting list, for me this time. But it's just a mixture of all the things: storytelling, cast, rewatchability, because that's the thing. Sometimes I rewatch a season, sometimes I don't. How much did it affect me in a rewatch in a good or bad way? So there's like a million different factors, and yeah, that's why we're here today, right? To discuss, why I have a certain season lower, high tier, middle tier, whatever the case may be.
Awesome. Now, before we get into season rank number 20, I just want to remind everyone in the chat that we are doing the Survivor Buff giveaway again this live stream. At some point during the live stream, I'm going to give you a specific keyword to enter the live stream, to enter the giveaway. And then at the end of the live stream, we'll pick a winner. Without further ado, let's get into the rankings. So, at number 20, this season got a combined score of 261 points. I would say possibly the most underrated Survivor season of all time. So underrated that I would argue it might be overrated at this point.
No.
We have Survivor Vanuatu.
Yeah, we're all against you here.
Yeah, so everyone's against me here. I ranked this season 27 out of 42, Flynnmasters 6 out of 42, Once Upon an Island 4, and the Nullified take 6. I mean, I guess I'll start with this one because my rankings are so much different than everyone else's. I agree. It's underrated in a sense, maybe still in my bottom half. My only problem with this season is that first few episodes, first 5 or so episodes are so boring to watch. I think it's some pretty bad Survivor. So bad that during my first binge trying to get through it, I gave up. I was like, this is bad Survivor. This is bad TV. I'm not going to watch it. I went back again. I tried again. It's like, you know what? I need to get through it. I need to actually talk about this season one day. I got through it. Once you get to a certain point, I agree, it gets better, it speeds up. But until you get to that point, it's not good TV. Once Upon an Island, you actually ranked this season in your top 4. Why is that? Give us a brief overview.
Have you met Rory? Have you met Chris? I agree, though. I would say like through episode 5, when they do that first tribe swap, I say first, it's only tribe swap. When they do the tribe swap, it is slow. Like they're trying to throw twists in there, and it almost feels like modern Survivor mistakes, where they're just trying to throw so much in that like, we don't have any time for the characters. And I also heard that the premiere was originally supposed to be an hour and a half, but they had to cut it down to 45 minutes or 42 minutes, however long it is. So they actually shot like a story for an hour and a half, but then they had to like slam it down to half that time, which I think affects a lot of that first episode. But so I ranked it so high because once you get to episode 5 and like the men are mixed in with the women and the women are just like, oh, we're going to cut throats out here. It gets so good. It just gets so good. It just gets better till the end. And I will argue that Chris has the best final tribal council performance, and it's not close. Like I hear people say Todd, I don't agree, but that's okay. It's different opinions, but Chris is the best final tribal performer. And I agree with you. Laugh every time I watch it.
Yeah. 100%.
Flynnmasters, I know you've been super excited to talk about this season. Why is that?
Because how does Chris win this season? It is unbelievable that a guy, this, fat, 300-pound guy who should have been like the first boot of the season because he's just, messing up the first challenge, right? He somehow survives that tribal count. So when he should have been the first boot. And not only that is crazy, but like to see all these strong pretty boys go out back to back in season 9 is just so crazy. It's just so out there. It's just not something you expect in old school Survivor. And in a theme, not just like an alliance of women against the men. The theme of the season was men versus women. Final 7, there's 6 women, 1 man.
Yes.
And he comes out on top. You cannot script that. Okay, like I said, throw characters out the window. I mean, there's, of course, some boring tribals, some lackluster episodes.
A lot of boring episodes.
Some forgettable characters. But that doesn't matter to me. That's the thing. That's where I throw it all out the window. This is the best storytelling season of Survivor. You cannot, well, maybe second best. We'll get into that soon. But you cannot script how Chris, who should have been the first boot of the season, is a prototypical first boot. Twyla, I mean, look at the final 4. Twyla, Scout, Eliza, all of them are so weak and prototypical early boots, and they're the final 4. And the guy who, with only guy left against 6 other women in a men versus women season, comes out on top. You cannot script that. It is so amazing to watch. I was flabbergasted watching it. I know we were talking about earlier South Africa, Philippines, how crazy of a final 2 that is. This is just as crazy to see how we get a Twyla Chris final 2, just with all the craziness happening this season. You cannot script this. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
I just can't get over how all 3 of you rank this in your top 6. Wes, you rank this in your top 4 as well. What parts of this Chris, the Nullified take, puts this in your top 6 season? Is it Chris winning that final push at the end, or is it just that old school vibe? Give me a little bit of your thoughts there.
Yeah, I guess a little bit of both, right? So I'll also say that I lean heavily towards some of the older school seasons, being an old school fan. I've watched it from the beginning. Seeing a season that's actually not in Fiji, which has become mundane, seeing one season after the other just in the same place. So obviously the location being in Vanuatu is something that's memorable. It puts the season apart. But I agree with both of my fellow podcast this year. You couldn't have scripted better. I mean, Chris, at the beginning, when they said that it was going to be men's versus women, actually said that he was glad to be in a tribe full of men because he can outsmart men, he can't outsmart women, but then he does end up going to the end and outsmarting them. And I think that Chris is a very underrated winner. I've always said that he's one of the best. I don't know. I don't actually I've never done rankings before. It's the first time I've ever done rankings. I think these things are very hard to do because the seasons are so different, but he's got to be one of the top 10 winners, in my opinion, because he just has ample of emotional intelligence, and he uses it so well with this woman to bond with them when he's the only man left at the end, to have this underdog arc and go to the end to win it against all odds, and to have the best final tribal council speech of all time. I agree with you, Wes. It was really phenomenal to see. I really feel like this is a top tier season and doesn't get enough love, so I'm glad that three of us agree on that.
And even I'll talk about the pre-merge real quick. I mean, even then, like, you got Rory in the pre-merge. That alone makes this,
yes. Thank you, Flynn.
You have, again, I think that's the thing. It's not just yes, it's boring tribal councils, but again, Brooke, JP, Brady, like all these strong guys again going out in old school Survivor. It's just so crazy to see. Like, and then you have, all me and Twyla stuff going on in the pre-merge. That's fun. So, I mean, the Dolly going from swing vote to the second boot, that's fun. And, and of course, we talked about the post-merge, just Final 7 on is must-watch TV. Mm-hmm. With that Final 7 round possibly being one of the best rounds ever. How Leanne went home when there were so many other targets is still never ceases to amaze me. So I don't think that I understand why the pre-merge some people might not like it. I think it's a little underrated. But yeah. So I just wanted
when Chris votes out Sarge and he just like pretends like this is some strategic move, and you're like nobody cares. Like Chris just does stuff just to do stuff sometimes. Like when he votes out Eliza, he's like, it's just like, this doesn't help you win, but it worked. And it was funny to watch. Oh man.
So chat, remember last time we got these rapid fire questions. Chat, I want you to get involved. Spam our chat with the answers to the rapid fire questions, one for every season. And I'm going to be blindly asking one of our guests a rapid fire question as well. They don't know which one will be getting what questions, and it's going to be on the spot right here. These guys kind of stole my question for this season. I was going to say, is Chris an underrated winner? You guys kind of answered that easily right away. So I'm going over kind of blind for this one. Flynn, my rapid fire question is for you. Excluding all the players that have returned, so Eliza, Amy, who do you want to see back for a future All-Star season if that would ever happen? Other than Chris as well. Other than Chris.
Okay, I was going to say, because that'd be easy if I can include Chris. Oh, then Twyla, easily. I so wish he would have came back for winners or heroes versus villains instead of Danielle, maybe. Oh man, I'd love to see Twyla.
Runner-up said War.
Rory, there's so many good ones, right? Twyla,
Rory. They're so those post merge characters.
I feel like I'm forgetting someone too.
Rory.
I think when it comes to who makes a funny character, though, they have to lack self-awareness, and I think Rory coming back would have the self-awareness, unfortunately. It's also why I'm worried about Angelina from Dave vs. Goliath coming back, because I feel like she's not going to be funny, because she's going to be very aware of who she is now on the show.
She'll be too meta now. Funny. She understands. Yeah,
she won't be funny the second time, but I want her to be funny, but I just don't think she will. Same with Rory. I don't think Rory would be funny the second time, so I almost feel like it would taint Rory's legacy if he came back and wasn't funny. That would be my worry. Even though I want him back. I want him back so bad.
God, man.
Okay.
What a treat that would be.
On to season number 19, ranked 19 here, guys. We have 273 points. This is the first time I actually ever watched a Survivor episode live. We have Survivor Panama, Exile Island. All over the place again with this one. I ranked it 23 out of 42. Flynn, 5 out of 42. Once Upon an Island, 31st. And the Nullified take 16. Oh, wow. Gotta start off with you, Wes. Once Upon an Island. You ranked this one the lowest out of all of us. Is the season just boring, average, nothing special? What's with that 31 ranking?
As someone who just got done watching the season for 3 months straight, I can say the first time through, it was okay, and it just never got better on any rewatch. And it's all personal opinion. Aris is not entertaining to me in this season. Danielle, I want her to be entertaining, but she's not. So really, it's the Terry Suri show in terms of like who's interesting. Shane's interesting, but at the same time, like, I don't know. There's something different between Shane and Rory. Where Rory lacks self-awareness and he's funny. Shane's like almost like borderline psychopath, and it makes you like, I'm actually a little bit. I know it's all in humor and Survivor, but I'm not. I think Shane's a little psychotic on this season, so it kind of tempers my excitement watching it. But the strategy is just so and it's so basic. Like Vanuatu, I know like on paper it's basic, but it's such an exciting story here. It's one tribe just dominates the other, and if Terry didn't have the super idol, this would have been even worse. So, I mean, I'm kind of glad he had the super idol because at least it brought some drama, and he won immunities, of course. But yeah, it's hard. I don't know. It's boring for me to rewatch. But
yeah, I'm pretty interesting for you, Chris, the Nullified take. You ranked this one at 16, where the overall average was 19. So you're the closest to the actual average. Same kind of thing. Is there just not much special with this season? Not many iconic moments, your opinion, or is there not like anything to love?
To be honest with you, like I said, I've never done a rankings before, and doing anything from 15 to 30, I find extremely hard. Like, we'll know probably who we think or what we think is the top 10 seasons and what do we think is the bottom 10 seasons, but the ones in the middle can get very difficult for various reasons, and maybe the margins are so small between number 16 and number 25, for instance. But what I did enjoy about this season, to keep it positive, was I'm a big Terry fan, always have been a big Terry fan, so it was really hard to see him come back and not really live up to that previous expectations and have to be taken out of a game for something that was not game related in that season. So seeing Terry in his prime going up against the young buck, the rivalry between Aris and Terry is something I really enjoyed, and seeing Terry win time after time again, 5 immunity wins, equal the record of Colby Donaldson, who was much younger when he first set that record, having the outright record for the most individual wins, with rewards together and immunities. Those are all things that I really enjoyed. I love challenges. I love challenge beasts. So again, it's not the popular opinion. It's not necessarily the subtle players that sit behind and is quiet and play the best strategic game. I enjoy people who make a bit of a noise and has something going. So love Terry, love Sari. I mean, it was her first season. She had no right to go as deep as she did in that season. She was going to be a target very early on because physically she was the woman who got off the couch that shouldn't have been there. But somehow she found herself getting into the game very deep because of her strategic ability. So I get Aris is boring, but the winner for me doesn't always make or break the show. I think that you learn very early on in Survivor that your favorites don't always win.
Didn't Tom also win 5 immunities as well? So it's like Tom, Colby, and
right.
Terry.
You're
Just
right.
make sure I'm not going crazy.
Flynn, I'm gonna hop on you next, but before we do that, I just gotta say thank you so much, Miss Mosco Kid M, for the $6.99 donation. Just gotta say, amazing idea, bringing all my favorite Survivor YouTubers together. Thank you, Russell Muscle. You know what? Thank you, everyone. I want you spam in the chat right now with Musk Kid. Thank you so much for the donation. Anyways, back to you, Flynn. I find Chris, you hit kind of right there perfectly that most people are gonna rank this season either in the upper average, maybe a little lower average, but you, Flynn, you ranked in your top 5 best seasons of all time. There's got to be something you love about this season. Explain.
Huge hot take here, and this is my favorite newbie cast of all time. That's and you guys, and like I said, I came into this saying I'm more of a gameplay person. This cast broke me. I don't know what it is about this cast. I remember this so specifically. I remember that Final 7 Bruce Medevac episode. I swear, I felt like I was watching the season live. Like, I felt so connected to all those Final 7 players. All the craziness on Kasaya with Courtney and Bruce, and even Bobby and the Premiers, those guys getting drunk and taking a dump in what was it? That was hilarious. I mean, Terry, of course, just being a beast and somehow surviving, winning immunity after immunity. And, I'll get into the gameplay in a second, but that's what made the post-merge fun because, you knew that Kasaya was eventually going to turn to each other, and you're just waiting for that because not only was Terry winning immunities, but he had an idol to work with. So you're just having a blast waiting for them to turn on each other. And that happens. The gameplay is just so incredible in those last couple of rounds. We got the 3-2-1 vote to take out, again, Courtney. Shane's epic blindside. I mean, Shane's on this season. How he's never come back. All-time amazing character. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea. I personally love him. Of course, Sari, probably one of my all-time favorites, making it to the Final 4. And then you got Danielle with that ruthless move to turn on Terry. And I got to say this about Aris. I know he's a boring winner. Oh, that'd be cool. Bobby for second chance. And maybe this could be like a rapid-fire question. I never understood. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think he's a bad winner? Because people call him like a bad winner. And I never understood. I don't agree. Because he's 2 years older than me. I can barely take care of my damn dog without getting
I think there's a difference between a boring winner and a bad winner.
Right. I think that's what people say. There's a 24-year-old Friday-looking dude who somehow is able to control all these crazy personalities on Kasaya. How he was managed to do that, and not to mention that he beats Sari at the end too. He beats pretty much everyone other than Terry at the end. how he's able to control all these crazy personalities and win and like survive those votes, like survive that 3-2-1 vote. It's just insane. So the gameplay is great. Love everyone in Kasaya. And there's also some underrated characters too on Lamina. I know people say that tribe's boring. You know, for me personally, of course, Austin's the only person to share my same first name. So I always got to like him for that. Dan Barry's episode is pretty cool. The first ever, you know, emotional vote off where everyone knows he's going home and they all kind of celebrate him. This cat, I just love this cast so much. And it broke me. Like I said, I'm more of a gameplay first person, but I just have never loved the cast more than this. And that's why it's a top 5 season, you know?
I think the season having only 16 people really helps a lot with that too, with it being more focused. You're able to get to know everybody, like you're saying.
Before we keep going, I just want to say, Ceridian, thank you so much for the donation. Another one
right here. So far. This is epic.
$5 donation. Everyone, go spam Ceridian in the chat saying thank you so much. Big round of applause there. Thank you so much for the dono. Yeah, and I think Ceri is like a standout in this season. It's crazy to think that something goes a different way. Ceri goes home early. Memorable character. And God bless Melinda, never hear from a Survivor legend again.
God bless Melinda, but we almost lost Shane or Ceri in that second episode, and just somehow luckily got to be Melinda.
Yeah, it's crazy. Rapid fire question, chat. Please get ready to go. And this one is for Wes, Once Upon an Island. So you as well get ready to go.
Oh no.
This one's easy. Favorite player from Kasaya, go.
Kasaya is the hot mess of a tribe.
Yeah.
Oh, if I had to pick, are we talking about first version Kasaya or the merged or the combined Kasaya?
The iconic Kasaya 6.
Yeah, iconic Kasaya. I'm gonna say favorite person. I'm just gonna say Bobby. I think Bobby's underrated. I think Bobby needed more screen time. I would say Ceri, but I know everyone's answer Ceri, so I'm gonna say Bobby.
All of them, yeah. That's why I say all of them.
All of them.
All of them. Ceri, of course. Ceri, of course. Vince and Shane's.
I love that. God, I love that tribe so much.
Yeah, such an iconic tribe. That's awesome.
Like I said, I wish I could go back in 2006 and watch the season live. I felt so connected to all these people. I wish I could have like watched week 3.
Do you feel like connected as Shane? Like, are you and him on the same page?
Yeah, maybe not that connected. No. Yeah.
Funniest moment: Shane getting Ceri's medical advice while being out of the like, there's so many good moments.
Yeah. Okay.
It's funny because that's not the first time that's not the last time Ceri will be put in an awkward spot with another man, Eric in Micronesia.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. Like, oh no.
But we won't be talking about that today.
No, probably not.
Number 18 with 290 points. So that's a jump up. Panama had 273. This is a real big jump up, 290 points. A twist or a theme so interesting that production needed to run it back only 2 seasons later with Survivor San Juan del Sur. I ranked it 15 out of 42, Flynn 7, Once Upon an Island 35, and the Nullified take 10. I'm closest to the average, so I found this season way better actually on a rewatch, and I felt like, I don't know how connected I was in the online Survivor community back when the season was out, but I found personally I wasn't the biggest fan when I was watching it live. Felt parts of it kind of boring, hard to get through, didn't really want to know what's going on, skipping through it. But on a rewatch, that completely changed. I loved this season. On the opposite side of things, Wes, you hated this season.
Hate's a strong word.
Word. Strongly dislike 35 out of 42. That's pretty low.
That is low. Okay.
That is
So, as I said, I ranked based solely on if you were to ask me today, would I want to rewatch the season? The answer is probably no. It took me 3 times to actually get through the entire season. Like, I restarted that many times to get going. For me, it just does not click until I wouldn't say the final. I was looking right here at the boot list, just double check. I know Stick to the Plan's an iconic moment, but that's not when the season gets going for me. It doesn't get going until the last like 5 or 6. And by then it's like we only got 2 episodes left. So I don't know, it was so boring. Some of the characters to me were just boring. And I almost feel like people here were better when they came back. Like Jeremy's better when he comes back. Wentworth's better when she comes back. I mean, Natalie steals the show, and thankfully she does win, so which saves the season. Keith's good. I'm glad he didn't win. I think if he got in the final 3, he won. But if he won, we'd all be questioning like, this guy didn't even know what he was doing. He was just liked so much. I think we'd have a controversial winner on our hands. But I mean, I like some of the people, but I think they were better when they come back. And the season bores me. Like that's really my whole reason.
Yep. And somehow, once again, Nullified take and Flynn top 10 season. So a lot of the seasons here that you guys are actually loving in this third podcast. We'll start with you, Flynn. What's to love about this season?
Well, it's kind of fun. It's so funny we talked about Panama, how Panama broke me because of the cast. Well, this season broke me because it's just such amazing gameplay. Yeah, sub counter went up. That's cool. And I will say it's a good point. This season, if you guys don't rewatch the season, rewatch San Juan del Sur. Every time I see people talk about rewatching this season, it almost always goes up, and I don't know what it is. And I'll be honest, the cast isn't great. Again, a guy like John Min should probably never lead no matter how big of a character he is, when it comes to the season gameplay, he should probably never lead the season in confessionals. But I'm sorry, I don't care about any of that. The gameplay this season is just amazing. I know a lot of people hate on the pre-merge, but even the pre-merge, you got Nadia going home because she forms a girls' alliance, even though the guys have a majority because Josh is gay, and that's what sends her home first. You have Josh, saving Baylor in the second tribal council after that horrible idol eye. You have everything with John Rocker, and then he goes out with an idol. You have the Drew Christie episode, Wes. I don't know how you can't say the season is boring up until that point. You have the Drew Christie episode. The only real bad part of this season is that swap where Kelly and Dale go back to back, and the Julie quit. But even then, in hindsight, that's what got Kelly on a second chance. So hey, hindsight's always cool there. And that post merge is just unbelievable. Tribal counter after tribal counter. It does not stop. Josh and Jeremy going out back to back. Wes, Keith idling out his own son. Oh my God, that stumps up Keith to a T. And then of course, Final 7 on just the Natalie show switches her vote from Keith to Alec, pulls off the split vote on John to send him home with an idol. Jacqueline DeJoux, I told you to do to take out a Baylor. And yeah, Natalie's just an amazing winner. The gameplay just does not stop this season. It is so fun throughout. I get the cast isn't great, but I don't care. The gameplay is so good.
You brought up the early parts of that merge and Josh and Jeremy being crazy moments. I actually thought that was more of a negative moment of the season because you builds up this whole pre-merge, this whole story of it's going to be Josh versus Jeremy. These are two really big characters, and I felt so blindsided and defeated when these two characters went out super early. But Chris, I feel like you're going to be kind of on the same page as Flynn here in the respect that it's a top 10 season for you. Are you kind of on the same page of Flynn, or do you have any different reasons why?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Blood versus Water as a theme is something that I always find interesting. Obviously, Australian Survivors just recently had its own Blood versus Water as well, and it didn't really deliver for me. It was probably the first time I didn't like a Blood versus Water as much as I did with the previous two. And I think it's interesting seeing people come onto a show where that production probably thought one of them would be great, but hey, do you have someone you can bring with? And then Keith, for instance, coming into this game, not really knowing what he's doing, but somehow finding himself so deep into the game and being such a great character and being such a big Keith stan, I think it really pushes this up in my mind as to how much I really enjoyed this season. So I obviously loved seeing him come back for a second attempt after this as well. But yeah, I enjoyed Keith. I enjoyed Jeremy. I did like the whole Josh-Jeremy dynamic. I understand why it's, for a lot of people, probably it's not great seeing two very big strategic players go very early. In some ways, it's kind of like current Survivor, where if you were a big game player that season or you were someone that tried to take lead, you were getting knocked down very early on. And I thought that the arc of Natalie getting revenge for Jeremy, knowing when to make the right moves, not just making the move for the sake of doing it for revenge and holding back, was very masterful to see. I really enjoyed watching Natalie Anderson come in and win the season. I think another thing that stood out for me is I wasn't a fan of Natalie and his sister Nadia when they played The Amazing Race. I found them to be honest, a little bit annoying at times. And I really got behind, the twinning stuff didn't work for me, but I really became a Natalie fan on Survivor because seeing her struggle without Nadia going so early, and then the whole opposite of having Nadia go first and her winning the season. I think, again, you can't script these things. Sometimes you wonder how that works in Survivor, that it just plays out organically in such a fashion. But overall, I was high on the season. I couldn't remember that I ranked it as high as 10th, but again, not angry at that at the end of the day, and happy for it to be here at 18th overall.
Yeah. So our rapid fire question here, guys. Get ready to go, chat. This one is for you, Chris, the Nullified take. Obviously, the first Blood versus Water works a little bit differently. We have Redemption Island take place in that one. We don't in this one. Are you glad that we don't have Redemption Island and we have the duels take place? And how do you think it affects the season with Redemption Island instead of the duels?
Yeah, listen, I was never a fan of Redemption Island or anything where you get back into the game, but I think these days, like the duels, Redemption Island, either one of them is better than seeing the Edge of Extinction in my mind, just because it takes away so much from the show, and maybe that's a
do that again.
podcast for a different one. But overall, I think that Redemption Island, does hurt Survivor, like they say here. The dual twist is probably better overall, so I feel like they actually did something better compared to what they've tried before. But then again, you never know with Survivor because they saw both of these and then they went in the direction of Edge of Extinction. So, but yeah, overall, I'm happy with the fact that we didn't have it.
And I kind of want, Flynn, what do you think as well? Do you think the duels work? Obviously, you don't have players come back, so maybe a little bit better than Redemption Island. Or would you prefer they just kind of cut out that part of the set, don't do duels at all, and maybe some classic reward challenges? Or did you enjoy the duels?
I don't know. Like, I honestly, to be honest, I almost kind of forgot about them. I associate like Blood vs. Water, again, this amazing gameplay, and the Redemption Island, the original Blood vs. Water. I almost kind of forgot about those duels, but it did kind of make for some good emotional moments. It just simply didn't hit as hard as the emotional moments we got in the original Blood vs. Water. So I'm kind of, I guess, I don't know. It's kind of a bad answer. I'm kind of neutral about it because honestly, I didn't kind of forgot about it. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it's fine. It makes for compelling television.
Okay.
I want to know, though, before we move on to the next one, how many nuggets can each of us eat in 5 minutes? Because I don't think I could eat 58.
So we're at 45 likes right now. If by the end of this stream we have 100 likes, I'll do a chicken nugget eating contest live at some point with Once Upon an Island.
Let's do it.
If we get 100 likes before the end of the stream. So
guys, you gotta like that. That'll be epic.
That'd be pretty cool.
I think I could get 20, maybe 25, but 58. Holy crap!
Easily over 20. You're crazy.
I think I can knock out 20, 25 maybe.
Okay, number 17 with 299 points
Here it comes.
and the first ever tie we had in the Survivor YouTuber season rankings. Before we kind of go into it, so number 17, number 16 tied. How we did these tiebreakers, if you all remember back, maybe a month ago now on my community post, I would do daily Survivor duels, polls, where you would rank 2 seasons, and one would do better than the other, kind of like a Survivor tournament. Whatever season did better in that Survivor tournament, that's how we did the tiebreaker. That's what season we performed better in the Survivor YouTuber ranking. So that's how we did the tiebreaker. Number 17 with 299 points, a season defined for better or worse by one man. Some would even call him my rival in the Survivor community. We have Survivor Samoa. I ranked this one 36 out of 42. Flynnmasters 26 out of 42. Once Upon an Island 5 out of 42. And Chris, the Nullified take 5 out of 42.
Oh, wow.
I'll start off. This is the worst. This is one of the worst of all time. 36 out of 42. My arch nemesis is there. What do you guys mean? Like, I can't rank it better than that. In all seriousness, no, it's the editing. The editing is so one-sided that I have a lot of problems with that. I think we have a much better final product. Russell will still be one of the best characters of all time, even if this season is edited better and a more enjoyable final product. But obviously, people think differently than me on this. We have some people that think this is the top 5 season of all time. We'll start with you, Wes. What's to love about Survivor Samoa?
Russell. I mean, I don't even think he deserved to win, to be clear. I love when I post videos and I talk about Russell at all, and the debate starts between Russell and Natalie. I posted one, I think, a week or 2 ago, where I just showed the confessionals, the voting confessionals of Russell and Natalie, left no commentary on it. I was like, I want to see how people react. No, Russell didn't deserve to win, but he does make the season so enjoyable. And I think it's like a 101 on how to lose Survivor and a 101 on how to win Survivor. It's like it breaks the show down to its core. It's like, can you win by just pleasing the jury and getting the end? The answer is yes, because that's all the show's ever been about. You can get to the end however you want, but if the jury's mad at you, who cares? And I think we see so many people cannibalize themselves, and like Russell's like the perfect example. I wish most people would watch this season and be able to understand Natalie's story better. I would rank the season higher than number 5 if Natalie had a decently edited story, and that's why it even fell that far. It would probably be top 3 for me if it was better balanced. But in secret scenes, you get a little bit more of Natalie, and you actually see Russell screw up more in the secret scenes. I think I just posted, not to self-promote too much, but I did just post a video with like secrets just the other day, so it's fresh in my mind. But yeah, Russell screws up more in the behind the scenes, and Natalie's like making friends, and it's like this should have been in the show. But no, the show is just great. Galoo is a fun, and their fun is like kind of the villain until they're not the villain anymore, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, Galoo's getting destroyed. And I love Russell Swan, and I know it's all personal, but I love Russell Swan. I love that he's not good at Survivor, and I love that both times he's not good. I just love Russell Swan as a character. To get off the Russell Hantz train, Russell Swan. I wish Russell Swan would come on another season. I know they won't do it, but I wish he would. So there's other people I'm missing off the top of my head, but yeah.
Just to get on this Dave Ball train real quick. So I tried to get a cameo from him to say I'm better than Russell Hantz and put it in one of my videos. He declined the cameo request. He didn't take my money to do this.
He didn't want to start a war.
Whoa. That's brutal.
Yeah, I just want to say that. The Nullified take. You also ranked the season in your top 5. Why?
Good opinion,
Well,
by the way, Nullified take.
yeah.
Good opinion. Yeah.
No, but listen, I feel like the noise about Russell Hantz is overblown on the internet. Like everybody hates him online, and I think I need to bring balance to this. Like, I don't think he should have won. I agree with Wes, but I do think he brought a lot to Survivor. And I saw people say that it was the start of the dark ages and things like that in the comments just now in the live. And I don't necessarily agree with it. I think that it brought a lot of people back to Survivor when he came onto the show because he brought excitement. Yes, he was the villain. He was the person everybody loved to hate. I don't think anybody actually... At one point, he was the hero, actually, funny enough. Wes, you make a good point. Before the merge, and we saw him just be condescending and bulldoze and become confident that he was going to win the season before he even had his chance to actually pitch to the jury at the end. But I think overall, Russell is a great villain in the show. And if you talk about some of the biggest players to ever play this game, he's always going to be mentioned. Not necessarily the best, but definitely somebody that you cannot... Russell Hantz goes with Survivor, and I know people hate that. And Samoa was Russell Hantz's season. I agree with you. Probably the edit should have been more balanced. But if you look at some of the other people that he went up against in the season, there were some great other characters. There were Dave Ball. Survivor wasn't his game. Lovemaking was, but he was still fun to watch, and a great character. You had Laura Moret, who was the person who was the rival to Russell that went up against him. That sadly fell short here with her alliance, and how Russell systematically worked with Natalie to get into Galoo and then take a 4-person alliance to the end basically was pretty masterful to see. And I don't think we ever saw that outside of maybe who was the one that Ozzy and Yule and Becky was Itu. I'm bad with tribe names. Yeah, the I-24 was the other one that actually sort of ended up going to the end as well. So that was pretty interesting to see. You don't see that all the time. I just loved the season as a whole. I thought there were great characters in it. I loved Samoa, the backdrop of it. And it was exciting. It was not a boring season. To see someone go out there, by the way, to burn people's socks, to throw away water, make it harder on his own tribe, sabotage his own tribe. It was... Up until now, we haven't really seen much of that, and it was just, he was playing it at a different level. I'm not saying it was a great thing, but it was definitely entertaining, and I appreciate it from an entertainment standpoint.
And going from people thinking this season somehow is in the top 5, chat, I don't know what's going on over there, to someone who thinks it's maybe in the bottom half, but still a good season of Survivor. Flynn, obviously not a top 5 season for you, top 26. Yeah. What makes this season not one of the best and actually in your bottom half?
Because, it's just not a very fun season. Because that's the thing. Your opinion on the season relies on Russell. And obviously, Chris and West, love Russell.
Love's a strong word.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We appreciate him. We appreciate him as a character.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Really appreciate them. And some people hate him so much and hate what he represents, that might have him bottom 5. For me, I have to respect. I wasn't there in 2009, but I respect what he did for the game. But come on, it is just the Russell show. I can only take so much. Like, I can't tell you anything about like Ashley or Liz or even like those people like Brett. Who's Brett? He doesn't show up to like the final 7 out of nowhere. Like, you don't know who these people are. It's just the Russell show.
Brett wasn't there. He was CG'd in the show. We all know that.
Honestly.
Brett bought.
I do want to ask this. That was a great question by whoever asked that in the live. Do we get Tony Vlachos if Russell doesn't play? Does casting look for Tony? Because I think that they looked at Tony Vlachos and they thought, oh yeah, great, another Russell guy we can put on the show. Obviously he wasn't. There was a lot more to him, but do we get the greatest of all time if Russell didn't play? And I think that's why I appreciate Russell at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because he did bring a different type of game player to the show.
Because Tony and his pregame stuff, if you watch his like pregame interviews they did, he's super arrogant. He's like, they never should have cast me. They cast me. They made a mistake. Now I'm gonna win. I'm a shark in a sea of minnows. And it's like, in retrospect, he was correct. But before the show even started, it's like, this is another Russell, and that's why I think you're onto something there.
Yeah. So I mean, I get why people hate this season. I get why people really love this season. For me, I appreciate Russell for what it is. I can appreciate Natalie's win. It's just not a fun season. It just like there's no big. I mean, of course you have Russell's idol plays and all that. That again, it's amazing. It's the Russell show again, but there's only so much I can take, and I need some other stuff. Again, I know I'm a gameplay first type person, but give me some big tribal councils. Give me some other characters other than Russell. So I just simply can't put it that much higher. It's very similar to another season we'll talk about. But yeah. So Brown just below middle tier.
He's a game changer. He found an idol without a clue.
Nobody's ever done that before. Okay, especially not Gary Hogaboom.
I do blame him for all the king and queen talk that we get in Survivor. I'm completely over kings and queens, and it's sort of followed its way through to Australian Survivor as well. Everybody is a king and a queen these days, but yeah.
To be fair, Earl in Fiji, literally episode 1 calls himself the king of Fiji. So I won't blame Russell completely, but he definitely made it popular.
That's really cool. Rapid fire question, guys. So chat, get ready to go. Type it out. This one's also for you, Flynn. Kind of touched on this a little bit, but what are your thoughts? I know maybe the wrong person asked because you're not a fan of him, but should Russell have won the season?
Oh, I mean, here's the thing. I would have given my votes, but I understand. That's such a tough one because if I'm there, I probably would vote for Natalie because you have to understand like what Natalie did, and Russell's just a complete asshole out there. So like I think he played the better game, but I guess I don't think he should have won if that makes sense. Like I personally would have voted for him, but I think Natalie probably shouldn't have won just for how terrible of a social player he was.
I just want to say this. I know we're talking about this season quite a bit, but it's interesting you say you would have voted for him if you were there, because obviously I've had the opportunity to interview many Survivor South African players and Australian Survivor players when they've played, and they said us as fans don't appreciate how difficult it is to make a rational decision at the end because you've lived next to this person. If this person annoyed you for 39 days or made your life living hell out there, I think even if you respect strategy, even for me, I respect strategy. I would like to think I'd vote for the person who played the best strategic game, but I probably would still go by my feelings. And if the person pissed me off, or if I found out that they, burned my socks or threw water, stuff like that, I think it hurts more when you're out there relying on people to get to the end, and you feel more betrayed. It's easy for us to say sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Okay. Now for the season that Survivor Samoa tied with. Survivor Samoa, number 17 with 299 points, obviously. At number 16, a season that also got 299 points. This season, I would argue, is simply impossible to rank. We are going to attempt to rank it anyway. Where it all began with Survivor Borneo. Again, I think this one's actually impossible to rank at all. Like we'll get into it. I ranked it 19 out of 42, Flynn 23, Wes 27, and the Nullified take 30. So I actually ranked it the highest out of all of us, which I'm really surprised about. I think it's just because I thought, let's go right in the middle, just because I can't rank it objectively, maybe, or subjectively even. But Flynn, we'll start with you, because out of all three of the co-hosts here, you ranked it the best out of everyone. Why 23 out of 42 for Borneo?
Like I said, it's so hard to rank this season. I mean, like every episode, there's like 5 minutes every episode where there's like explaining how the game works. It's just so hard to like really take this as Survivor. It really is just not really Survivor. It's just like explaining what Survivor is going to be. But even despite that, I still think it's a pretty. I mean, you compare this to Australian Outback, I think it's night and day in terms of entertainment factor. Of course, in the pre-merge, we got the first ever alliance formed. The crazy, what was it, like 4-1-1-1-1-1 vote at the merge? That's crazy. I think a lot of people forget this too. How like the Tagi 4, everyone kind of assumes they just dominated the game. Remember, Kelly was out of that alliance. They were going to turn on her, but she ended up winning those immunities. That's really fun to see that happen. And another thing people forget is like how good of a player Sue was for her time. Again, it's all rich. I think people forget how great, how game savvy Sue was. Of course, you have your iconic characters like a Rudy, the Sue Hawk speech. Of course, like I said, Kelly Wigglesworth, you becoming the first ever challenge beast. Got Dr. Sean with his hilarious voting strategy. It's all for what it is. It's a fun season. And again, like you said, Russell, I maybe if I had to like put my life on it, I would, there's probably seasons below this that I, find more entertaining. But it's Survivor Borneo. Again, they're trying to explain the show. You have to, it's just really not even a season of Survivor. It's explaining what Survivor is. And I think you have to give it credit for, being what sparked, television still on 22 seasons later. So, or 22 years later. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll go to you, Chris, next. I was surprised with your ranking for this just because you are so much of a fan of the old school seasons of Survivor, the classic era of the show. Ranking this 30th out of 42, I would love to know kind of your thought process into doing that.
Yeah, I think it's a good observation, and I think for me it's similar to what you said. I found it hard to rank because it is Survivor, but yet it is the thing that started it all. So it wasn't necessarily exciting for me. It comes down to would I watch the show? Would I watch Borneo over and over? And probably not. I don't think it's a season that's got much rewatchability for me personally. I do appreciate the fact that Richard was the first winner, and if he didn't win in the manner that he won, we would have had a very different show. Now, obviously, being an international Survivor fan and talking to a lot of people from other countries that watch the show over in Turkey and over in France and different places, the game is very different in Europe. In Europe, it is all about survival elements and like who's the best at doing things around camp, who can catch food, who can make your life more comfortable, and they vote people out that don't contribute around camp. Richard winning the way that he did obviously changed the trajectory of the game, and the US version and some of the other English versions like South Africa and Australia took after the US show, which became more about strategy and caring less about making life more comfortable for you at camp. I think overall it was just hard for me to rank it anywhere, and I probably just put it at 30 and kind of it almost needs its own bracket because it is its own thing. But I am appreciative of the fact that we've got the show that we're watching right now, because I don't think I would be as interested to watch some of those European versions based off what I've heard.
Yeah. And again, Wes, with you as well, I was surprised that you ranked Borneo the first season where it all began, especially for how much of a story guy you are into Survivor, why you ranked this one so low. So I'd love to know kind of your mindset going into it.
So I like Borneo. I know I ranked it lower because, as I said, it's based solely on would I rewatch right now. Borneo is a fun watch. I think, like Chris, I've been watching this show since the beginning. So Borneo's been in my brain, living rent free for 22 years now. So I think it's more exciting and earlier. And I like Richard as a winner. I think there's so many good characters this season. This is a season where the strategy is all over the place, kind of in a fun way, where people are trying things just to try things. Like Sean going the alphabetical route, it's like, is this secretly brilliant or is he just being stupid? And it's like, I don't think the answer will ever be answered, because on one hand, it is smart, but on the other hand, you're like, no, this is dumb. And it's just like, but it's smart because he doesn't know what the jury is going to do. Like, nobody here has any semblance of what to expect. Clearly, they're being told by production behind the scenes about things, because why are people talking about a merger coming up? Like, how do they even know there's a merger coming up before the merge? They've never seen Survivor. They never played Survivor before. So clearly they're like being told things are coming up. So what, of course we've heard behind the scenes how like, I think Stacy like sued the show because anyways. So it's a season where it's like the storytelling's definitely more, I would say less like a movie and more like a documentary. Which is interesting. It's like truly if people played Survivor had no idea what Survivor was, which is funny because in the behind the scenes of Fiji, they say they tried to do that again by casting 19 recruits out of 20, but clearly that didn't pan out at all. That did not feel at all like another Borneo. So you just can never replicate it. So I like it. It's good. It's a good watch. I think it's hard to just like rewatch over and over and over again, personally, but there are moments in it. And it's really the formation of strategy. And people say eventually alliances would have happened. Yeah, sure. But I think seeing an alliance dominate and win motivates people more to do it faster. Because in Australian Outback, people are still like, well, we should like vote together, but like not like together. But like they're in alliances. They just won't say it because they're scared of the kickback from the audience. I'm glad Richard won over Kelly and Rudy. I'm glad Sue just ripped them all to shreds. I'm glad Sean is Sean. Colleen, I never really got the Colleen love in terms of like why people were like in love with her, but I like her. I think there's no one on this cast I just like dislike. I think I wish Ramona had been there longer. I think it's the only person I think wish had got more time on the show, but yeah. I like the season. It's just would I rewatch it right now? Is the question.
I also want to add Greg, just giving Jeff the hardest time at Tribal Council all the time was fun to watch. And obviously Jeff didn't have the experience he's got now. So I think he really put him through his paces in that first season.
Jeff would not have put up with Greg today. I mean, he might have because now he's like grandpa.
Great, yeah.
No, he loves everyone.
Yeah,
the sassy Jeff era. Ooh.
The sassy Jeff era would not have put up with Greg.
That would have gotten
I hate to put you on the spot again, Wes, but the rapid fire question is your turn. And this is a little bit of a longer one too. Chat, get ready for it. Butterfly effect. Walk us through it. Kelly wins instead of Rich. Does Survivor last 43, 44 seasons? What happens to Survivor? Is there any major changes that you can think right off the top of your head if Kelly wins instead of Rich?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if Kelly wins the next season, let's just say it's the same cast. I think Colby wins the next season, which people might have loved. But that just shows you, like, I don't think Tina wins. I think Colby wins because people start valuing more. Well, Kelly won 4 immunities. And Kelly did things on her own. And like Richard held this alliance together, which I think almost goes, people don't really focus on that. Focus more on the fact there is an alliance, but like there's within the alliance, there's fighting. And Richard is yet somehow this arrogant guy is still like the voice of reason and the one keeping them together because it's not Rudy. Sue and Kelly are at each other's throats. Sean's like trying to do this alphabet thing. And like Rich is keeping them all together somehow. And I think if Kelly wins, it's like, oh, people will probably like it. And I've heard people say, does the show last as long? That's a great question because, if Colby wins and that's the direction we're going, it's like more based on challenges and survival. I don't know. I think the reason it holds up for so long is because of the strategy. And if the strategy becomes lessened, I think the show doesn't last the same or it doesn't evolve the same.
So you don't think Survivor could have become like the, 5th or 6th sport of, the USA, kind of like what the Challenge USA is trying to do right now and be just as big?
I think another show would have come along. If Survivor became so challenge focused, I think another show would have come along like the Challenge and just done challenges better if that's all we're trying to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And now I want all 4 of us to kind of debate here ourselves. So my YouTube community, the polls determined that Borneo was better than Samoa. I want us to have a little chat here. Obviously, these 2 seasons tied. Do we think this works better, Samoa, Borneo, or should Borneo have been number 17, Samoa 16? I'll start with
if you ask me, and
that's it. Well, I mean, I obviously like Borneo better if I remember correctly, or did I? I don't remember. And they're so close to me, right?
Based on the community, like based on the Survivor YouTuber at large, not your specific rankings. What do you think here? Yeah.
Okay. I mean, again, because as Survivor YouTubers, we are able to appreciate what Russell did. That we're still able to talk about. He really did save Survivor, and even though Borneo started, he really saved it. And that's what's able to make us, talk about Survivor all these years later. So, oh man, that's a good question. I guess as a Survivor YouTubers, I would actually probably put Samoa ahead.
I'm guessing Wes and Chris, you both agree Samoa ahead of Borneo.
I agree with you.
I'm sorry, can you rephrase the question? I didn't actually understand. I think I understand, but I want to make sure.
So obviously in your personal rankings, you put Samoa ahead of Borneo.
Yeah.
But for the larger averaged out Survivor YouTuber rankings, with what we're doing here, everything together, do you think it makes more sense that we ranked Borneo as 16 over 17?
Does it make sense?
Do you think it should have been switched?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think it's fine. It's here nor there that we're talking about 16 and 17. I think if we were talking like 1 and 2, I might have a debate, but 16, 17, no arguments here. I think Borneo over Samoa is just fine.
Yeah, I think the fun thing about doing rankings of shows, and like I said, I've never really gotten into it too much, is that everybody values something different, right, when it comes to Survivor. So you get a different group of people together in a room, and the rankings might look very different because people value different things when it comes to the show.
All right. I don't know.
Well, Flynn,
I think you're the host now. You've been promoted.
I can't pull up the season, so I guess we'll keep talking about. It is interesting though that they are together because me and Russell kind of talked about how we would.
My legged out. My bad.
Oh my god, I thought I was going to be the host for a second. I was like, no, I can't pull up the seasons. No,
I have them.
No, we're good. I'm using my phone's data now, so we're good.
Russell came back from the edge of extinction.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
voted off the island.
Got medically evacuated.
Sorry about that. We're back. Number 15 with 302 points. So now crazy with all the points. 3 points separated number 15, 16, 17. Now 16 and 17 obviously tied, but this season as well was super close to being in that range as well. Arguably one of the most difficult seasons of all time. Survivor Kaoh Rong. I have this one ranked 31, Flynn 10, Once Upon an Island 10, and the Nullified take 26. So I'm not the biggest fan of the season. My bottom half, even bottom-ish season. Nullified take, you're kind of in the same boat here. Why does the season not work the best for you?
Yeah, I guess for me, when I looked at this season, Michelle getting to the end and winning for me was not really something I enjoyed as much. I was a big Aubrey fan. I thought she played a better game. At the time, I actually kind of felt like Aubrey was probably similar to Russell, just not good at managing the jury at the end, but not as bad. Not as bad, I would say. But that probably was the thing that made her not win. But I think that if you looked at it in a vacuum and you weren't out there and it wasn't just based on likability, which Survivor is based on, I think Aubrey probably played a really good strategic game and she didn't win it. So it fell flat for me. If I had to pick out a negative, was probably because Aubrey didn't win. Now, that's no disrespect to Michelle. I really enjoyed seeing her come back at Winners of War and have a decent run at the game again. And I think she's a great person. And I think it really affected her personally that the fan perception was that she wasn't as good as Aubrey, and she took that to heart, which I still don't know why winners do that. Like, if you've won $1 million, who cares what a guy on the internet thinks about you? You've got the $1 million in the bank. You can buy a house. They can't. So I just don't get that. But that's probably why it fell flat for me. The things that I did like about it, I mean, Debbie, she was amazing. Like, one of the best casting choices we've had in a very long time.
Yeah.
Just the fun that the producers and the editors had with her, with all of the different job titles she's had over the years, being a slashy and have done so many different things. Ty was a massive presence that season as well. I really enjoyed it. I mean, if you look at him betraying that group of Kyle and who was the other fella? They got there, Kyle and Scott, and they had the Super Idol and he didn't play it. That was amazing TV for him not to do that. There were so many good character moments as well. So overall, I mean, again, the middle seasons are hard to rank for me. Anything, like I said, from 15 through to probably 25, 26 or 30, it gets a bit murky for me at times. But that would probably be the main reason, is that I would have thought Aubrey should have won that season.
Flynn and Wes, you two are on the exact same page for this one. Both exactly your number 10 spot.
Good.
Flynn, we'll start with you. Why?
So it's interesting. This season's so interesting to me because it feels out of place in Survivor, but in like a really good way. I mean, look what comes for this and after this. You got Cambodia, game body like crazy. And then Millennials versus Gen X, same thing, crazy, crazy season, followed by, that's what birthed Fiji, and we're still on Fiji all these years later. It almost feels like it's the season, like in the middle school era of Survivor because of just how hard it is. And I know the medevacs can be bad at times, but hey, it shows that this is Survivor. Like, this is hard. These people are having to play hard out there. And again, there's no crazy twist. There's not twist hard place. There's only the 3 idols would turn into the super idol. That's really the only twist. This is just a season of Survivor, and it's a good season of Survivor. You have the Braun tribe, of all the teams, the Braun tribe is the train wreck tribe out of the 3, and Alicia somehow makes it past those 2 tribals before finally going home. That's pretty fun. The merge is really, really fun with the Nick blindside, Debbie blindside, Scott's blindside's an all-time great tribal council there. And then look at the final 4. Boy, talk about a strong, strong end game. Sydney, Ty, Michelle, Aubrey all played hard games and all played. I agree with that take. It really does feel like maybe not legit season, but it's such an interesting season of Survivor, and it's so solid too. And we combine with like just how different this is in a good way, combined with the solid gameplay. Again, nothing amazing, a good season, but that's what makes us higher up for me than most people. That it's just so different. It's just so raw, I guess. So yeah, I've always been super high on this season.
And we'll jump to you, Wes, next. Top 10 season for you as well. What makes this season special?
So I guess slightly personal. So after Survivor, I believe it was Cook Islands. The fact that I don't remember tells you whether it could have been Fiji, but I don't remember. That's when I got a job and I was working nights and I couldn't watch Survivor, and I got off the bandwagon. And then many, many years later, I finally watched again. I watched Kaoh Rong was the season, and I was like, oh man, I love Survivor. And I watched the season, and it was so good until the very end. And I was like, wait, Michelle won? Who the heck's Michelle? This is me as a very much a casual, just getting back in the show. But it was like, it was so good. Like, I could, like, the fact they had like all those medevacs, and like that one episode was crazy. Like, it was blowing my mind that all these people were like on the edge. Debbie is the perfect example of what I'm talking about when I say somebody who's lacking self-awareness is funny. In this season, she comes back in Game Changers like a chip on her shoulder, because this season it only finished airing like weeks before, and you see in Game Changers like she's not as funny. That's why we talk about her being funny this season. I don't think she's as funny in Game Changers. A little bit funny, but the downfall of Scott and Jason is all time for me. Like, how Scott is just a straight, like, there's almost like no redeeming factors to Scott, and I'm glad he goes where he does. I'm glad he doesn't make to like final 3 or anything like that. Scott and Jason falling because Ty just doesn't give them the idol because of how they treat him, and it's just like perfect. But yeah, I think it's just a fun season. I think Darnell got robbed. Very rarely do I think a first boot got robbed, but Darnell got robbed. Like, how did he go over Jennifer or Alicia? Like, I don't know. I don't agree with that. But anyways, I think it's a fun season. I do think I this is the one time where I actually wish Aubrey had won. I understand why she didn't. I don't think Russell should have won over Natalie, but I do wish Aubrey had won over Michelle. Personal opinion. Though I think Michelle earned it. I wish Aubrey had won. But yeah, I like Ty. I think it was a solid final 3. I wish Sydney would come back. They haven't asked her back, as far as I know. Joe going out because just like Bruce Flynn, he couldn't poop.
Yeah, pretty much, right.
Yeah, just couldn't poop.
I love Michelle winning. Crazy.
I know Flynn has a trend with his top seasons where they
he likes it when they can't.
He likes it when they can't poop.
That's my secret.
Flynn, by 43, someone can't poop. I'm like, this is top 5, baby.
We're back in.
But no, I just think it's a good season. I think I agree with you, Flynn. Like, it doesn't have many twists. I like how they have like a clues to find the idol. Like, it's not just go look for one. They have to like Ty like doing like climbing up like ridiculous, like climbing up a tree instead of like finding a stick. And then the super idol. I like the super idol twist this season. I think it works in like this context. You have to combine 2 of them. And I think that would be okay to bring back like another, again, like one season, not like back to back or all the seasons.
Right.
Like,
I'm surprised it hasn't come back after this amazing. After again, let this guy blindside. What a moment that was.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of like in Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. You kind of have like that. He burns half the idol. Dr. Recall.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a super idol.
There was a super idol in that season for one tribal council in the pre-merge that you had to give to someone or something. Weird.
I think that was the one where Ryan gave it to Chrissy as a super idol.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but yeah, I think the super idol should come back only in the context of having to combine 2 idols. That, you know, so if 2 different people have it from 2 different camps, we should combine it for a super idol. That's the context. But other than that, yeah, I think it's a good season. I think it's worth rewatching. I think it's good. It's solid.
I think something we never touched on here is it's the hardest season of all time. And I think there deserves to be a little bit of debate there. Before we get there, a little nitpick I have with this season. It's just a nitpick. It's just something super small in the grand scheme of things. The juror removal. Stupid twist. Stupid idea. I don't like it.
They were just looking for a reason to do a challenge.
Yeah, they were. And I just feel so bad for our ice cream scooper Neil in this situation. He had an idol. He made it to the merge. He was doing good. Gets medevaced out of the game. Has to sit on the jury for like over 2 weeks, I think, just to be kicked out of the game at the very end. That's not fair. I wish they didn't do it to the guy. But there, he got medevaced out of the game. We had 2 other medevacs out of the game. Caleb with one of the most crazy situations ever. We broke the Survivor 4th wall in that scenario. It was a crazy, I wouldn't say a Survivor good episode, but a reality TV moment or just a TV moment. It was a really interesting episode of television. I'll go with you, Flynn. Is this the hardest season of Survivor?
Oh, I mean, I definitely think we talked about this last week. I definitely think Africa is definitely the hardest. Africa, Guatemala, one of those things. But you know, again, you can't deny that Caleb scene. You know, say what you love these medevacs. Again, it does make it feel old school for that very reason. And that's again the reason why season 32 feels old school. You know, not just for those reasons, but for the gameplay wise, and still a good season. That's why I really like the season. So, but it's definitely not the hardest.
Yeah, I agree. Rapid fire question time. This one's for you, Chris, the Nullified take and chat. Let's get ready to go. Spam the chat with the answer to this question. in the way it was used this season, Wes kind of just mentioned it. Do we want to see the Super Idol return in the pairing situation where they got to come together to become a Super Idol, or now leave it behind in the Ghost Island graveyard?
Yeah, so first instinct when I hear the word Super Idol is to say no every single time, but I feel like we've done worse to the show in recent times with some bigger game-breaking twists. So I feel like the Super Idol, if we can remove some of the other game-breaking twists we're seeing in 41 and 42, then in this manner, where you have to use it with someone else, it could make for some interesting TV. The fear that I have is that you get two people come together and they just ride this thing out until the end, and they're both good social players that just, get together, build an alliance around the Super Idol, and it carries them deep, because we've seen that happen before. So that's my fear, that it still is too powerful. So I would say reluctantly, yes. Maybe if we remove something else that's been a bit stupid in recent times, like the do or die, or
Beware Advantages.
winning, or Beware Advantages, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. Okay. Chat, this is the time where we announce the Survivor Buff giveaway. Let me pull this up on screen. Share screen.
I'm ready.
Nice.
Window. Giveaway tool. Share. Boom, right
there
here.
goes.
Giveaway tool. So we got 3 buffs right here. I'm going to let you, Chris, decide what buff we're giving away here today. We got the red buff of Survivor 41.
Mm-hmm.
Purple Survivor 42 and green Survivor 42. Which one are we giving away today? As Wes covers his face.
My favorite color is green, so I've got to go with the green one.
Okay, chat. We're giving away the green Survivor 42 buff. If you want to enter the giveaway, hashtag Survivor 43. Start collecting comments. So we'll get back to this at the end of the live stream. Do hashtag Survivor 43 in the chat, and you get entered to win the buff. Get those rolling in. Make sure you do it. Hashtag Survivor 43. I'll put that on screen, ready to go. Remove. Banners, Survivor 43. There we go. Next up, number 14, ranked 14 out of 42. We have another tie, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, boy.
We have another tie taking place. So number 14 tied with number 13. You know what they say, drop the 4 and keep the 2. We're talking about Survivor 42, ladies and gentlemen. I ranked this one 12th, Flynnmasters 17, Once Upon an Island 24, and the Nullified take 38. Let's go from most negative to most positive here. So we'll start with you, Chris. What's not good about this season? Let's get all your thoughts out.
Chris, why do you hate fun?
We're gonna be nice to you.
Why do I hate fun? Listen, I know it's definitely, this is one of the things where I feel like Survivor 41 and 42 for me, I'm struggling right now with Survivor US, and maybe it's a bit of frustration that is coming out in ranking Survivor 42, because the cast wasn't all bad. Like there was a fun cast, and normally a cast will carry me to rank a season a lot higher than what I probably did 42. But I just feel like the direction the show's gone in the US recently, dropping down to 26 days. I know it was due to restrictions and things like that with COVID. Well, that was the excuse that was given back when they did it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, obviously they're still doing it right now. So we know that it's probably not just that, it's also cost reductions and so forth, and really giving us a watered down production from what we've seen in the past. I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with the fact that the show, with the twists that we've got currently in it, it's broken. It's fundamentally, they've got things where you could win and then still lose after winning immunity. You've got the do or die twist, which I'm not a fan of. The hourglass twist, I'm not a fan of. I'm not a big fan of the beware advantages. I'm not a big fan of the riddles. There's just, I feel like they've gone and thrown so many things into the last couple of seasons that the show, I'm struggling to find the show that I fell in love with. And that's why Survivor 42 for me is so low. Now, the cast themselves, they were fun to watch this season. I had a lot of people that I enjoyed seeing play the game, but I feel like the way that the game is going right now, it is promoting for people to play more of a, let's sit behind in the back while all the people who are willing to take risks do that and shoot themselves before we get to the end, and then you get to the end and win it. And we've had 2 winners that have done that in recent times, which I just don't find entertaining. Now, I'm not saying that they're bad winners, and I haven't done rankings or anything like that, but I just don't find it entertaining personally Other people may, but that's why I've ranked Survivor 42 really low. I've got a feeling 43 might be down that same road. I really hope that they changed a few things, because I feel like since Jeff has had more creative control, the show's gone downwards for me.
Oh, the Jeff attack.
Yeah, like he's a great host, but is he a great showrunner? That's my question.
Hot take.
Chris is mad.
That's a whole other live stream right there. We could talk.
I was waiting for this one because I knew I knew I had people coming for me on 42, but yeah, it's my feelings.
Yeah, bottom 5, interesting. Y'all on my water.
We're going from most hated to most loved. We'll go to you, Wes, next. You're a little more fun in this season. Is there anything redeemable about it, or again, is it just kind of like a waste of space?
No, 42 is good. Okay, so here's my take. I'm very, as everyone knows, I'm very much into storytelling. Whenever I watch a show, it's like almost possible for me not to notice like what they're doing with editing. And so with this one could have been as bad as 41, because I do think 41's worse, and I don't think it's close. And I don't think this season is like top 10 by any means, clearly. But I do think it's good. And what I really appreciate about the season is that they clearly listen to fan feedback from 41. And despite having all the same mistakes from 41 in terms of advantages and just like a large focus on the wrong things, thankfully they didn't put idols at people's campfire. That was probably a big one. This season is a Shan blindside away from being higher on the list. I think it's missing like a good villain. But 42 is solid. I do know what you're saying, Chris, with having back-to-back winners who seem like they didn't do much. Thankfully, Marianne actually had a story the entire time. She wasn't hidden. I will appreciate that. This season, they did a really good job of clearly went back and re-edited the show. Like, clear as day. I've never seen the more blatant re-edit of any Survivor season in my entire life. They went back to the beginning and just re-edited the whole show. There's no way this is what it was when they finished shooting these seasons. I bet you 42 was if it wasn't finished editing, or it was part way finished editing when 41 started airing, and then they got the feedback and like, well, we got to fix it because people aren't going to like we do 41 again, which is what why going to be. Yeah. So clear as day, they fixed it. And I think the biggest sign that 42 was re-edited or was edited in they got feedback 41, however you say that, is when they have the tribal council where Tori goes and they're talking about race. And it's like, it was never brought up before. It's never brought up again. And you can't tell me it was never talked about again. There's no way did Modern Survivor just not talk about it again. This show was clearly re-edited. And I appreciate that they took the feedback and tried to make the show better, frankly. I know they can only do so much. I mean, things were done the way they were done. But the show did its best to try to make a Survivor season that the general population would like. And therefore keeps the show on TV, which of course is their job. So, yeah.
And then moving into the little more of the positive end, Flynnmasters, you rank this season in your upper half of seasons. What's to like about this season?
I mean, the chat's already touched upon it, and I will be frank. Like, I think some people are really, really, really high in this season because it's pretty much is a carbon copy of 41, right? And because it is a lot better editing wise, storytelling wise than 41. People have it way, way higher. But just in general, even despite that, despite the comparison, I still think it's just a solid overall season because the editing, is so, so good. Story, even though there's not many like amazing like blind sides. Of course you have a couple. Of course, Jenny's boots, one of the best all-time pre-merge tribals.
Yeah.
How in the world Jonathan, Lindsay, and Marianne with the eye on her pocket survived that merge tribal, and Lydia was the one to go home. How Omar was able to do that is beyond me. We're all on the edge of our seats thinking Jonathan was gonna go home that week. That's incredible. And of course, Marianne's big move on Omar, that's amazing. That pretty much won her the game. And Marianne as a winner, like who would have ever thought someone like her would win Survivor? That big old $1 million smile, hyperactive personality, and she's a Survivor winner. It's so, so cool, And yeah, but it just goes to show what editing can do, right? Even though the tribal councils could be, lackluster at time, again, due to all these twists, people had to play it back a bit. We still got the dynamics, good camp life. Of course, Jonathan dominating the challenges. We got everything with Tori being chaos on the blue tribe, Ika, I think. Daniel being absolute train wreck on the green tribe. It's just a fun overall season. Again, I think it's fitting that's next to Kaoh Rong because it's a new school season, but it's a solid season of Survivor. It's nothing new school that makes it just completely blown away.
Marianne falls in love with Zach.
Oh, how can I forget that? Yeah. So it has its moments. You know what I mean? it's just a fun overall flow of a season, which I kind of talked about earlier in a previous podcast. It's a good flow. There's not really moments of season where I'm really bored. So.
And we had back-to-back Canadian winners. That just automatically makes it a good season of Survivor.
And now no Canadians.
Yeah, no
Now
Canadians.
that-
43.
Yeah,
43,
conspiracy.
it's out.
No Canadians on 43. They're like, you know what? These Canadian players, they're too good. We need
Yes.
to give them a chance.
Can I just add to this one thing we didn't touch on as well, and another reason why? Again, the cast is amazing. I love Marianne as well as a person. I don't like the type of winner that she is personally, but I think she's a great person. I think she's a great casting choice. And you know, the bad thing is we probably don't see Marianne come back in the near future. If she didn't win, I think she was a shoo-in to come back for an All-Star season or a next returnee season because she was such a big character. The other thing I don't like about 43 is the whole, and it's the same for 41. Let's starve them. Let's give them less. So now this is the hardest season of all time because they don't eat. Because
Which is so
we
not
as
true.
fans want to see people starve and be zombies out there and not be, don't have the presence of mind to do great strategic play because they're being deprived of food. Come on, Survivor, what are we doing here? Give them something, give them some reward challenges that you don't have to give them, cookies, but give them something at least while they're out there.
Yeah, they gave them Applebee's. So.
I know we're not talking about 41, but when they kept saying in 41, this is the hardest season ever because we have no food for the first time in Survivor history. I'm like, have you watched your own show? You guys did this in Marquesas. This is season 4. This is not the first time. They did an All-Stars again. Like, come on, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I just ranked this one top 12. I just remember Survivor 41, my first season doing content on YouTube, kind of dragging myself, forcing myself to be as positive as I could, making those videos. But I just found myself for the 42 having a lot of fun watching Survivor again. And again, that's the kind of the subjective ranking versus the objective ranking. I was like, it's a really fun season. I really enjoy myself watching it, and that's why I ranked it number 12. I don't know on a rewatch, the farther we get away from the season, if that holds up. I really don't think it does. But in the moment, I ranked it number 12. Rapid fire question. Chat, get ready. Flynnmasters, get ready. Do you think we rank this season lower if it comes out before Survivor 41?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I kind of already touched about that, right? Well, here's the thing.
No, exact same edit. The edit stays the same in 42. They don't fix things around. The edit stays the exact same, but it comes out before 41. So this is the first time we see the beware advantages. This is the first time we see the hourglass.
But that's the thing. So people are still going to be more hatred to that because that's the thing about 42. We were expecting this stuff from 42, right? So we weren't as mean about that. And to be fair, we got lucky that people like Jonathan survived. Again, that's one of the things that made 42 so great because we all thought Jonathan was going home that round. Whereas first time that happened, to even see him be in potential danger is absolutely ridiculous. Well, that's a hot take, yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, because with all these new stuff added, just like when they were first out in 41, people were just hating on every little thing, yeah, of course it would be lower. I mean, well, was the question, would it be better than 41 or would it be lower?
If 41 didn't exist, would this season be ranked much lower?
Oh, yeah.
This just existed by itself?
Yeah.
Oh,
I still think so, yeah. Because that's the thing. Everyone compares us to 41,
Yeah.
And even, and that's why, so definitely lower. And it's still a good season, but I think middle tier for sure. I know some people have a top 10, I don't know about that one.
No, I don't.
Yeah. We have 3 seasons left, ladies and gentlemen. This season tied with number 14 Survivor 42, coming in at number 13 spot, again with 315 points. Many fans would say it saved Survivor, producing an iconic Survivor duo. We have Survivor Philippines. I ranked this one 13th, Flynnmasters 14th, Once Upon an Island 16th, and the Nullified take 27. Me, Flynn, and Wes, we all kind of ranked this super close and also really close to the average at 13. Actually, I got it bang on 13, which was the average overall. I'll start with you, Wes. What's to love about this season, or at least in the upper half where the average is?
I mean, my ass, as Penner would say. I love Penner. I love
exactly.
Penner. Any season with Penner. I just want to point out, any season with Penner is top material. Philippines, Micronesia, Cook Islands. Too bad he's like the same age as Jeff, because I want Penner a 4th time, though he's clearly done after this one. But this season, besides the person who shall not be named, who, if they hadn't done anything post-Survivor, would still be a hot mess it would be more fun to watch. But anyways, this season has a lot of fun characters. Though watching I do not recommend, this is like the one season I don't recommend watching Ponderosa. It is so boring. They do not want to interact with each other at all, and not in a fun way, not in like a let's get mad at each other way, more like let's just avoid each other. So it's not a fun Ponderosa to watch. But this season, I mean, Jeff Kent, now I know how much I get after $1 million. Thanks, Obama. I do really like the story of Lisa. I know she's a hot mess, and I am glad she didn't win. But Lisa's story is just like, I don't even care if she was playing it up. It's like one of those I don't forget. And then when Penner sits there and literally explains to her, like, imagine Survivor like a story. I'm like, wait, what? I had never thought about it like that. Because after I watched Kaoh Rong, I went back and watched the older seasons I'd missed. And this is like the first time I was like, holy crap, he's right. The show is edited like a story. What am I like, like my 30th season I've watched and I just realized it. But anyways, I really enjoy the season. Penner's a large part. Angie asking about cookies. Zane is probably the best player you've ever seen in your entire life. It has Russell Swan. We know I like Russell Swan. Sarah, or Dawson, when she kisses Jeff, would be a little different if a guy had tried that, but Sarah got away with it. I like RC. I wish she had been brought back. I know she was offered to be brought back. Carter.
Yeah, you're forgetting Carter.
I once saw Carter in a grocery store. That's Abby Maria is iconic, and I'm glad they brought her back again, and that she was the same person. I'm glad she did not gain awareness the second time. I'm glad she was the same person second time. So Malcolm, of course, Malcolm and Denise. How can you forget? Denise was every single tribal council. It's a good season. It's a really good season, and it's the only returning season I can like say, yeah, go ahead and watch, and you don't need to watch their previous ones. It's okay. I think Russell Swan misses a little bit by not watching his previous ones, but I think Penner and Scoopin you can watch and be fine not watching their previous ones and still enjoy them in this season.
We have the fall of Matt Singh. We have an all-time favorite, iconic character player in Malcolm. We have Denise, a good winner of Survivor. We have some crazy moments. Abby Maria. With all this going on, the Nullified take you rank at number 27. Now, I know you say these middle seasons are hard to rank, but I would love to know why this season kind of gets in that mix with some super iconic moments that are easy to remember, like what Wes just said.
Yeah, so one of the things for me with returnee seasons, I'm not a fan, and if you looked at my rankings, it probably would reflect that as well, for seasons where there's like half returnees, half newbies. So I don't really like seeing players come back that have played the game before. I know in this one it was a little bit different because they all were medevaced in their season, and that's the reason they came back. So they felt like these players didn't get a fair crack at it the first time that they played, right? But for me, that kind of takes away from it a little bit. I like seeing pure newbie seasons or returnee seasons, and that probably is one of the reasons that I ranked it a little bit lower. And also, just as you were going through everything on the season, I honestly just find this season sort of outside of Denise and Malcolm, being the bright spot for me and getting to the end and being in a Matt Singh tribe that got completely obliterated early on, and then finding a way to link back up and nearly go to the end together if it wasn't for Malcolm trying to turn against Denise at the end there. And maybe Abby Maria is a fun villain that I like to see her go off at people. I really don't remember that many memorable moments from the Philippines. It's just not a season that stands out for me and that I necessarily will go back to watch again if I had to watch it. It wouldn't be in my top 20 for that reason.
Yeah. Makes sense. And before I get to you, Flynn, I just want to say thank you so much, Benjamin Allen, for the $4.99 donation. Everybody go like the video. I want to see a chicken nugget eating contest.
How close are we, by the way?
We're at 73 likes. We need to get to 100 before the stream ends. If you're unaware, if you're joining us just now for the first time, me and Wesley, Once Upon an Island, agreed that if this video gets 100 likes before the stream ends, we're going to have a chicken nugget eating contest.
Man, the bathroom is not going to be a good place after that.
Whether we get to the 100 likes or not, everyone please spam the chat with thank you, Benjamin, for the donation.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Guys.
Flynn, we had iconic duo between Denise and Malcolm. We had the fall of Matt Singh. Such a memorable moment, brought some new legends into the game. Can you talk to us a little bit about that fall of Matt Singh and taking place?
Oh, it's just so crazy to watch, man. Like, especially with it being 3 tribe, because you have 2 other tribes to worry about as well, but you're still like really related to these 6 people. With Oolong, you had forgettable characters, right? Well, with these 6, I mean, you're connected to all these 6. You start with Zane, of course, and then Roxy and Angie. I mean, sad to see the weaker woman go home. And then the fall of Russell, that is such a heartbreaking vote off, again, being a big seeing him go medevac in Samoa after he had a good stranglehold on the game, and then just kind of go home because Denise and Malcolm were just simply too good, and his tribe just sucked. I mean, remember that final four, the episode 4? He's like, "Why, God? What did I do to?
Why, Jeff? I mean, God.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. That's what it was. That's what it is. What did I do to deserve this? It is so compelling TV, and another good example where yes, the vote offs are boring, but it's such compelling TV. Not just what's going on Matt Singh, but the other tribes as well, and that's what makes Philippines so good. Along with, of course, the post merge is just amazing, but that Matt Singh storyline is so good, and Denise, of course. Malcolm being the ones to come out of it, the duo come out of it to make it to the final 4. It's just one of those things you can't script, but it's so good.
Exactly. And rapid fire question time, chat. This one's for you, Wesley. What does the season do differently? What does the season do to make it stand out from all the other Dark Age seasons of Survivor?
I think so. We have seasons 22, 23. And then this one, and then you got Caramoan, which I know falls in Dark Ages. And I think what this one does differently than the other ones, weirdly enough, is that while it does have returnees, it's like they're fun returnees, and they weren't very good strategically their first time. I mean, I know Penner like got far in Cook Islands, but he was an early merge. He was going to be an early merge boot in Micronesia if he didn't get pulled. And then Cook Islands, like he had no chance of ever winning. So Scoopin was not liked. I mean, I know he was liked after he was medevac that season in Australian Outback, but clearly people before that were annoyed by him already. They beloved him afterwards, but they did not care for him that much before. And then Swan got pulled. I think he would have been he would not have changed the fall of Galoo. The Galoo would have still fallen. So you got 3 people who are fun characters in the season in the show Survivor, but aren't great strategically, and they're like the leaders of the tribe, so they don't like just take over. It's not like the Boston Rob show or the Coach show or the Cochran show. It is a bunch of newbies who resent even the fact that returning players are here, and they deal with them. But at the same time, like Scoopin does still get to the end because people are like, well, Scoopin's not going to win. So
how about
I think what it does, it's more fun. And even though it rains a bunch, even though somebody quits, it's fun. And Penner talking back to Jeff the whole season, like from the very beginning of the season, is just like, Jeff's like, everyone get off the boat. And Penner's like, what if I don't? And Jeff's like, you know the rules. And Penner's like, yeah, but what if I don't? What if I don't jump off the boat, Jeff? So anyways, I think it's just a fun season.
Yeah, exactly. Chad, I'll leave this up to you to decide. Did we get this right? Survivor Philippines and Survivor 42, they've both tied. So I'd love to know your thoughts if you would rank Survivor 42 higher than Philippines, or if you think we got this right here.
That's an example. Like a couple of years from now, I'm 100% convinced Philippines will be better than 42 in most rankings. Yeah. I'll be shocked if that's the case where we're coming off 42. People are comparing to 41.
Bias.
Yeah. There's so much higher on this than 41. So I'll be shocked if we did this even a year from now, if it would be like that.
Yeah, this is a good way to break this tie.
So this next one, we're going to have some debate. I'm excited for this next one. Number 12 with 327 points. Any fans of my channel know a season I'll always feel special to me in my heart as the first full season of Survivor I ever watched live. We have Survivor Cook Islands. I ranked this one 8th place, Flynnmasters 27th, Once Upon an Island 6th, TNT 11th.
Oh,
so we can all game up. We can all just
I didn't know that.
On Flynnmasters here. Everyone in the chat as well. No. Cook Islands is a great season. I think we just move on from there. Awesome season. No. Once Upon an Island and the Nullified Take. You both rank this season super, super high, or in the top half. I'll start with you, Chris. Why?
Yeah, listen, I'm a big fan of the tribe that Yul was in with Becky, Sandra, and Ozzy, and again being that underdog team that you've got Penna and Candace moving and doing the mutiny. Which, by the way, I think mutiny is a great twist, and I'm kind of sad we've never seen the mutiny twist back again. It's so unique in Survivor. And seeing them go and then leaving these players in a minority group fighting against the bigger power, and then coming to the end and Yul strategically masterminding a way to work with Penna again, and reasoning with him, and then getting all the way to the end to win the season was brilliant. And it was also a season where I feel like we had the best two players of the season go up against each other at the end. This was Aussie's best season. This was Yule, obviously being Yule, and seeing them go in and being number 1 and 2, I think was the first time I truly felt personally satisfied with the first and second place at the end. So that all made the season a great season for me. And obviously we had some great players that would become legends of the game, and Aussie, Parvati, Candice came back, Furious versus Villains. We spoke about Penna many a times being a great storyteller and a great just cast person that we've had on the show. So due to all of those reasons, I think this really hit it out of the park. The only negative I will say about this show, if I'm being honest, and why it probably didn't break into the top 10 for me, was the fact that they broke the tribes into different ethnicities. I just think America at the moment looks through everything through that lens as well. And this was sort of way ahead of its time in doing that. I just don't like it. Whenever we segregate and do that type of thing, I think it had a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. But even with that bad twist and having these different ethnicities and tribes, the cast itself delivered for me beyond that, still to make it a season that I would rank at 11, because I still think it was great. But without that, it might have even been a top 10 season for me.
And bouncing from more positive to more positive, I don't know if we'll even give Flynnmasters a chance to talk here. Maybe we'll vote him off the island. Wes, I'm sure you love this season. Tell us some of the most iconic moments from Survivor Cook Islands.
That's all I'm gonna talk about. All right, let's start from the beginning. Okay, everyone. Obviously, one of the most iconic moments on the show is in the second episode. When Aussie and them, they throw the immunity to get rid of Billy. And obviously what we all want to talk about is how Yule found the super idol in episode 2. That's the big moment. There's nothing else that happened in that episode. Yule found the super idol and made Exile Island completely worthless the whole season. Thanks, Yule. Thanks. I do like the location. Think Exile Island looks beautiful here. It's just a shame how this season and last season's like the moment the idol's found, Exile's pointless. Like, they couldn't hide another idol there. Like, come on, at least
that'd be too game changing. Can't do that.
Yeah. But obviously, Billy fell in love with this game. Her name is Candice from RHAP, and he's dead serious. And if you listen, he has an interview on NSFW, Survivor NSFW, or whatever the channel's called now, Reality NSFW. He talks about how, and I don't know if I believe this, but Billy says that production prodded him into having or trying to have a romance with someone on his own tribe. And I'm double checking here real quick. I believe it was going to be Cecilia. And instead he decided to go rogue and say it was Candice, which is why Jeff's so shocked. I'm not sure if I believe that, because the fact that he talked to Candice and said, "I love you" to her at the challenge is enough for me to think that. I don't think that's what happened. But, if you want to, it's a very fascinating interview, I will say. But yes, Billy and Candice. And then the next episode, they had the balls to show like them going up to Candice, like, Candice, we wanted to ask you, so Billy thinks that he's in love with you. And Candice like, who? What? No, whoa. And Penner's like, you let him on, Candice. Cowboy is a game changer. The split vote plan. How
playing voodoo.
The credit cards and the applications, and it was in a dream. And it's funny because in Micronesia, Aussie says, in South Pacific, Aussie says it came to him in a dream. He needs to get redemption for himself. And I'm like, is Aussie channeling his inner cowboy?
Oh, that's a good point.
It's only because I just watched like these seasons recently, like both recently.
That's a good point.
Ozzy's like, it came to me in a dream. I need to get redemption, which is why I have to do it instead of Cochran. But here it's like Cowboy's like, I had a dream. Gotta split the votes on Yule. And he just tells Yule, like, and it's like if you stop and think about it, you're like, actually Yule is completely correct. He needs to go to Cowboy, because if he doesn't, Cowboy's gonna expose that Yule has the idol. Because even though it seems so innocent, like we're gonna split between these two people, it's like, yeah, but if it's not them, it's Yule. So good on Cowboy. What are some the Muni's huge, obviously. It worked out. They tried it in Thailand, but all we got was a bunch of like inner monologues. People are like, I want to switch, but I don't want to switch at the same time. So it never happened, which Thailand sucks. And then the mutiny happens, changes so much. Of course, that makes I2 like a legitimate underdog, down 8-4.
Such a good underdog.
Yeah,
story.
What a great underdog. Aussie gets the hero edit this season, covering up many of his flaws, because like kind of like the Rupert edit, because at the end of the season when Penner's like, I'm deciding between Yule and you, Aussie, like Aussie, you act like you're royalty, but you're so arrogant. And I'm like, Aussie's arrogant. When was that in this season? I mean, you could say when he threw the challenge he was arrogant, maybe, But no, we saw in later seasons, Ozzy's arrogant. They just covered it up in this season, which is how you know Survivor can do a really good job of storytelling. I like Ozzy, by the way. That's not a knock against Ozzy. It's just they covered it up to make him the hero with his 5 immunity wins. At this point, by the way, we have people just going on tears. Tom and then Terry and then Ozzy with 5 immunity wins. That's 3 out of 4 seasons. If Gary Hogaboom stayed in the game longer, he would have gotten his 5 too. And Guatemala, I can tell you. But no, I think and then Becky and Sundra going like an hour and a half doing their fire making.
Is that good or bad though?
They go to matches. And then Rodney from Worlds Apart in his post-game interview is like, he's like, I don't understand why Carolyn got another Flint. He's like, when that happens, we should have gone to matches, bro. And I'm like, no, that's not what happened here. They just couldn't make fire. It wasn't because they broke the Flint. So anyways, this season is iconic. And Parvati, surprisingly, is almost a nobody this season.
Yeah,
she flirts with Ozzy once, and she causes drama. Candace and Penner fighting, though, is great. It's great. I love it. Penner this season's amazing. Anyways, so I said, you put Penner in the season, it's like top 15 guaranteed.
There you go. Penner come back. Flynnmasters, but you're on a different page than all of us here. You ranked this season 27 out of 42. Just a little guess. Maybe is it to do with the bottle twist, maybe, or something? We haven't even touched on the bottle twist yet. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So I know a lot of people are really high in the season because of the story, right? But, if you know the background of the bottle twist, there was a little bit of rigging going on about it. So I've never been, I don't know. I mean, that's from what I've heard, and just in general, okay, that's a cool stretch, but everything outside of the I2's comeback is so boring. And there was a comment earlier about how like 10 of the most 50 forgettable characters from Survivor history probably come from Cook Islands. I could see that. Like these premier spoots are so boring. Even these big time players that come back, Parvati is a nobody this season. Candace, yeah, she has her flip and the moment with Billy, but other than that, she's pretty, invisible. Like how she came back 2 more times is beyond me. And just again, when I2 gets their numbers, well, then it's just a boring pogonging of the railroad people. And like you said, there's some fun moments like the split vote plan, Ozzy and Yule. You have the big social guy versus, I'm saving you guys, chat. This big social guy versus the big challenge beast. That's really cool. Probably the best of both worlds. I'm going, guys. I'm going. Trust me. But so there are positives. I can totally see why people are drawn into this season. But again, you compare storytelling, like you compare this like to Chris's story from Vanuatu, it's night and day, man. Like the story of Chris winning in Vanuatu versus I2 winning with the whole bottle twist, and it just and the fact that we even got immunity to begin with, and due to the circumstance of the season that I don't want to get into because it's really controversial. But I don't know. I guess it's kind of also soured my opinion about the season. But I had this pretty much next to Samoa because it is pretty much the same thing. If you're high on this season, you're really, really high on it, right? Because of the comeback. But if you're low on the season, you don't get much out of it. You're really, really low. I can appreciate, I can appreciate this moment. I can appreciate other moments. But man, there's like no big blindsides really. A lot of forgettable characters, and even the big time characters this season. Some of them like Parvati and Candace, even Yule. For as great of a player he is, he's not the most compelling compelling TV. So, it just this season never stuck for me, and I was hoping this be a little lower. I think, but I guess I'm overruled here. Let's see if chat. Let's go in and ask the chat. Do a poll for the chat. What they think about the Cook Islands.
This season is so good. I even have a Raro Survivor buff.
Mm-hmm.
I love this season so much. No, I think this is one of those great examples of a season, Gabon as well, in a sense where you either love it and it's in your upper half, or you kind of don't like it too much. There's no really in the middle for this kind of season.
Gabon is criminally low in these rankings, by the way. I just checked. I think I ranked it the highest. Everyone, just want to let you know, I tried to get Gabon higher.
Don't worry. At the very end, we get to go. Everyone gets to defend a few of their hot takes that they had different than everyone else. Rapid fire question here we have for you, Chris. Nullified take. Winner. We had the physical. We had the strategic. We had Ozzy and we had Yule. Was it the right decision? Do you think the physical should have beat the strategic, or was it the right Ozzy Yule? What are your thoughts?
I've always been high on Yule. Like there was a time when people knocked Yule's win because of the Super Idol, and people said he only got there because of the Super Idol, which I've always said that's not the case. He was great strategically working with different people. Yes, the Idol definitely helped him convince Penner, but I don't believe Penner knew that was the Super Idol that he could play after the votes. Or did he know that at the point when he was doing that? It's been a while since I've watched the season. Any case, I'm happy with Yule. I'm happy that the strategic player won, and I was a big fan of Yule the first time he played this season. So That's my answer on it.
Yeah. First time watching for me, chat, I would have said Aussie. Let me know as well your thoughts on that.
But it's funny how it changed, because I know you're going to ask me about the season I ranked higher than everybody else, and I might have a different answer for that season because I watched it in chronological order when it actually filmed. So, you've got to remember when this season came in, I was already, 6, 7, 8 years into Survivor. So my opinion changed quite a bit on who I thought should have won. So we'll get into that a little bit later on, just in case you say, well, you said something different for Aussie.
Oh, I'm going to go all in. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Okay, chat, we have one more season in the rankings left to talk about here today. Before we get there, remember, Survivor Buff giveaway. Spam in the chat, #Survivor43, and you can get entered in. Currently, we have 85 people in this live stream, and we only have 34 entries. So if you want to have a chance to win that Survivor Buff, #Survivor43.
And 11 likes away from the nugget eating contest, right?
Oh, Wes, we are doing that, by the way, if we get there.
It doesn't matter.
Right, we're getting closer.
I figured that was probably going to happen. Yeah.
Season number 11, just before the top 10 Survivor seasons of all time, based on the Survivor YouTuber season rankings, with a grand total of 332 points. We've already talked about the blood versus water twist once this live stream, so we might as well do it again here with Survivor Blood versus Water. We're all kind of similar on this one, so I think it's just a lot of positive, good, average things to say about it. I have it ranked 16, Flynn 15, Once Upon an Island 15, and the Nullified take 9.
Oh, we were pretty close. Yeah,
we're all pretty close here. We'll go best to worst here. We'll start with you, TNT, Chris. Cracking your top 10, 2 away from the average. What's to love about this season being in your top 10?
Yeah, listen, Tyson. Massive fan of Tyson. Every time Tyson comes back to play Survivor, I'm happy. I'm happy to see him play the Challenge USA this season as well. He's bringing the fire once again. It was awesome to see. I think in some ways it's hard to look at this season separately to Tyson's arc within Survivor. We saw this arrogant young guy play in Tocantins and get ahead of himself, and then come back in Heroes versus Villains and play himself effectively out of the game, to coming into this season, I think, at an all-time low, really, and with something to prove. And it was interesting to see him come in, lose his person so early in the game, and then have to find his way to go in towards the end and actually minimize the threat on him. He was great socially, he was great strategically, faking an injury for a lot longer than what he should have, eating food behind people's backs. Tyson for me is probably one of the most fun characters. Like Tony Vlachos is my all-time. Tyson would probably be second or third, and definitely somewhere in my top 5 of all-time characters that I enjoy watching play Survivor. So having him win this season definitely heavily influenced my ranking on this season. But I was also happy to see more returning players coming back to the show with mixed players this time, because normally I don't like returning players and new players, but I think for Blood and Water, it is the best version of Blood and Water. When you see a previous Survivor player that you enjoyed on the show come with a family member, can their family member be as good as them? Does it run in the family, or does it run in the is it water or blood? Is it a spouse, for instance, that they've got that is good at the game? I like seeing that. So that to me was interesting to watch. We had the big moment with Sierra voting out her mother, which was crazy. We had Hayden, who was a Big Brother winner, come into the show doing extremely well in the show. And, why has he not been back in a returning season? Because I think he deserves another shot going up head to head with Tyson. And I think probably just as good as Tyson. The only thing Tyson had was his third time playing the game, where it was Hayden's first time. So overall, I feel like there wasn't much not to like about this season. And that's why it's the top 10 season for me. And it was also interesting to see former winners and Aris and Tina back. I didn't think I would see either of them again on the show. And it was good to see them play as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then we had Flynn, Once Upon an Island, both ranked at number 15 overall. So we'll start with you, Wes. Anything opinions different than Chris over there around Blood versus Water?
I mean, I've never heard about this. You're saying Sierra voted her own mother?
I don't believe it. No, that can't happen.
That's illegal. You can't do that. Australian Survivor, I think, was the first one when Nina voted out Sandra. I've never heard of the Sierra thing ever.
Not a copycat thing at all.
I think Aris here is actually better than he was. Not better as a player, clearly, as he barely made the merge. But I liked him more here than I did in Panama. I like Tina a lot here. I think this feels like Tina's actually second time playing, because All Stars, she just got picked off for being a winner. Like, she had zero chance. I know other winners made it a little bit further, but they were all like, as soon as they could, they got cut. Tina, this feels like Tina's real second time playing. This is a really good season. Vetus going almost like Chris in a way with the women when he's on the tribe with them. He's BSing. Like Vetus is BSing. And then Tina's like, I hope my daughter would marry you or someone like you one day. I do the one thing that are a couple things that knocks this season down for me is Rupert volunteering to go and letting Laura play. I wish either they hadn't voted Laura out or Rupert hadn't done that, but it wouldn't be like it's so in character for Rupert to do it. So at the same time, it makes sense. Colton quitting is another one. It's just like, man, we could have had. I like Caleb. If I recall, that was his. Yes, Caleb's his name, and unfortunately, he did pass away. I have to mention that. Not but a few years after this, but I like Caleb, but Colton's just like, man, this is bad. They never should have brought back Colton. Colton was a hot mess in one world, not in a good way. But yeah, and then Brad Culpepper getting flack from everybody. Like, what did Culpepper do wrong? Apparently, like, you think he like murdered everyone's puppy or something? Like, holy cow! Yeah, it's a good season. Katie, as people have said, is like the most normal person ever playing Survivor. Like the most non-television person ever playing Survivor. She's like these big old glasses at Tribal, and yeah, it's a good season. Jervis, I really enjoyed the return of Jervis. I wish Jervis would get a third time playing. Nothing here says I mean I want Jervis to play a third time. So yeah, it's a good cast. I do think, and I really like how Hayden finally got it. I don't know if this happened before, but finally the final 6 is like, hey, like we can guarantee you final 3, and like somebody actually listened, because in China, PG's like trying to tell Denise like, hey, you, me, and Eric, final 3, like Todd, Courtney, and Amanda aren't going to do it, and Denise like, yeah, I know they're not going to do it, but it's okay, and it's like, what are you doing here? So I'm really glad that Hayden actually convinced somebody to do it, because it's like finally, like guaranteed final 3 if you go with us. Like we are not going to cut you, obviously. So I think it's good. It has good gameplay. The whole ruffle feathers things comes in here too. Can't forget that. Coconut Bandits, of course. It's a lot of good character modes and strategy. Tyson, also another player. You put him in seasons like top 11, 12,
100%
every time. Yeah.
Cat not making the merge. You know,
it's not dateable.
Not dateable anymore after that.
Yeah, Kat will never get married. I think she's married and has kids, but that was a mistake. Somebody didn't know she would make the merge, I think.
Flynn, you ranked this season the exact same spot as Wes. Same reasons, or do you like the season in a different way? Tell us why.
Oh, well, I mean, I think it's this a fitting one to end off for me, because I've kind of repeated how a lot of these seasons are really solid. Like, yes, they're not top tier for a reason, because yes, the gameplay, I mean, there's some slow rounds, like, but a good example, right? There's some slow rounds in the pre-merge, but it makes up for it in the pre-merge with the drama, with everything happening on Brad Culpepper on Redemption Island. That's one of the things people hate about South Pacific and Redemption Island itself. But here, it's what makes Blood vs. Water. Just seeing that raw hatred towards Brad Culpepper, going after their loved ones, and then Brad eventually gets blindsided. And, all the emotion, again, with these decisions you have to make, like Hayden just being in tears for not taking Kat's place. Tyson with his iconic confessional saying he has to win it for Rachel. That's all good. As much of a meme as, she voted our mom is, I mean, it's still crazy to see her have to have that conversation on Survivor. I couldn't imagine, saying, hey, I'm going to have to write your name down tonight, It's just all raw emotion. So, yes, a lot of the cast is a bit wonky. Like the fact that the season is, and I think that's another great thing about Blood vs. Water. This is such a random cast, and Redemption Island makes its way back, and yet it's still almost a top 10 season of Survivor. And that should just tell you how great the storytelling it is. And the fact that, of course, there's great moments like the rock draw, like Caleb's blind side, Brad's blind side, but there also is some slow moments. Again, a weird cast, but the storytelling this season is amazing. I know we touched about, the storytelling with like Cook Islands, with Russell and Samoa, of course, Vanuatu. And I feel like it's fitting. I kind of touched on it earlier. This is the best storytelling season of Survivor, where even if a tribal council was boring or whatnot, it's still what made for compelling television. The episode itself was very fun. I didn't find myself bored really throughout the season. So yeah, if it had like a couple more iconic tribals and characters, it would be up there. But overall, really solid season of Survivor, and definitely in a good place.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too, about the Redemption Island being in this season. Someone on this podcast ranked this season in their top 10. Even with Redemption Island being here. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Chris, on Redemption Island taking place in this season and how it affected or not affected your ranking, putting it in that top 10 spot.
Yeah, listen, I don't like Redemption Island. I didn't give it too much thought when I did the ranking for this specific one, but I do think that Redemption Island actually brought a couple of moments. Like it was earlier mentioned here, we lost very early on Rupert because he sacrificed himself, and I kind of blame Jeff for it because Jeff was like, "Oh, you Rupert, you say you're this great guy that will, take a bullet for people. Will you now step in front of this train and go to Redemption Island to save your wife?" type of thing. So I feel like Rupert was always in a hiding to nothing because Jeff kind of put him on the spot. So he was always going to go in. And sadly, we lost him early on sadly for some. I'm not as big of a Rupert fan as other people. So it didn't negatively affect my view of this season as a whole. But I'm sure there was a lot of people who would have loved to have seen Rupert have a better go at it. And he is a legend of the game. I mean, he's gotten deep a few times. So to see him go out this way was cheap. Then one of the biggest moments we haven't spoken about, which was one I really enjoyed, was, and I agree with you, Wes, Jervis should come back because he's a gangster. When his niece went into the redemption and he was asked, would you take her place? He's like, you handle your business. And I was like, that was cold, but that is exactly how you need to be in Survivor. And Jervis was like, this might be your first time, but I've waited 20 years or however long it was back then to come and play this game again. I'm not going to take a bullet for you here. So it showed two very different approaches. So I think that was a great moment, and it showed that Jervis was there to win that season. And then another thing that was quite interesting was seeing the two women of the season, and Laura Moret and Tina Wesson, become the beasts on Redemption Island, winning so many head-to-heads, and ultimately, Tina coming back, but Laura did a really good job before the merge as well. So overall, I feel like this is one of those rare instances. In the moment, I wasn't a fan of Redemption Island, but I think the more crazy Survivor gets and the more further it gets removed from Survivor with different things coming into the game, Redemption Island seems like the lesser of the evils that we're getting, especially compared to the Edge.
Yeah, exactly. Before we get to that rapid fire question, I just want to say, Musco Kid, thank you so much for another donation here. $2.79 donation. Thank you so much. Again, the hashtag Survivor43, reminding everyone in chat, do hashtag Survivor43, and you get entered to win the Survivor buff that we're about to do any minute now. Everyone in chat as well, please say thank you to Musco Kid for another awesome donation there.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
And okay. Great stream, guys.
Rapid fire question, and the last rapid fire question here of the stream. This one's for you, Flynn, and this will be for Chad and everyone else as well. Do you want to see the blood versus water twist return?
Oh man, I mean, after
we saw it twice so quickly, US, and then never saw it again. You just saw it international. So
if it's a reason to bring back returning players we haven't seen in a while, then yes, absolutely. Now, oh man, but like, would it involve Redemption Island again, or can it be like San Juan del Sur, or like, does it matter?
I think if you do a Blood vs. Water Rivals season, then you bring back the one you did in San Juan del Sur, like that duel thing.
Yeah. I would like to see that. Yeah, I definitely think, it just makes for compelling television, especially with returnees, because you have people like Jervis who just want to play, and then you have people like Hayden and Tyson who are going crazy over their decision because they played and they're having to sacrifice their loved ones. So yeah, I would love to see it, especially if we saw, we got some walking returning these players this season, but we got like Laura, whoever thought Laura would come back and be, I wouldn't say a legend, but a big time player. So, it's cool to see some of these personalities we might not see again. Say that with Jervis, for example. So yeah, I think I'd like to see it. But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. Showing Survivor, I'm kind of maybe not.
Well, I don't think it's a fair comparison.
Right, you're right. I know.
And the reason I'll say that, as someone that watches Australian Survivor a lot, is the casting for Australian Survivor is bad, and they're using the theme as a reason to create a show, but then they go and they basically get Instagram influencers or people that are famous and celebs to come and play the show to bring a following to watch the show instead of getting good casting. So I don't think you can really compare it to Australian Survivor in my mind. But Australian Survivor also didn't have the redemption or the dual aspect to it, which would have maybe been interesting to see if people would go up and fall on their sword for their loved one. I think that's where Redemption Island maybe does come. It is interesting in that sense, where in normal seasons, who cares? They're voted out. No one's going to take a bullet for them. But I agree. Yeah, you go ahead.
I was going to say, on Australian Survivor Blood vs. Water, would Sandra have gone, after we saw how she just dipped out of Edge, would she have dipped out of Redemption Island? I wonder.
I feel like she wouldn't have, because I think that she doesn't like the perception of her being a quitter, like some people think she is. I'm not saying she's a quitter, but some people do think that, and I think that she would have wanted to rectify it. I think the more interesting question is, would Sandra have taken a bullet for her daughter if she could swap with her daughter? And she said she she said she was going to go play Australian Survivor Blood versus Water for her daughter to get an opportunity.
Yeah.
So that would have been the opportunity for her to show that that's really why she's there. But I think she's too much of a competitor to do that personally.
Awesome. Okay, now the moment for the Survivor buff giveaway. Giving away this awesome Survivor 42 Vati buff. Share the screen again right here.
Gotta do Ika next week.
We got 47 entries so far, guys. So I'll give you a few more seconds,
There we go.
to enter the giveaway. Do hashtag Survivor43 lowercase s. If you messed up there and doing a caps S, then don't do that. Do lowercase s. Hashtag Survivor43. Let's see if we can get that entries up to 50, 48, and then we'll get started. This has been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Yeah. We're at 95 likes, 5 more likes, and
or
maybe don't unlike the video right now.
I'm trying to count the calories, everyone. Don't do it.
I'm gonna give it 20 more seconds, and then I'm gonna do it. So if you want to be entered for the buff, make sure you comment right now in chat, guys. Let's try and get up to 50.
Lowercase s, everybody.
Lowercase s. Not big case.
Yeah, I think everyone. Yeah.
Okay, 5, 4, 3. Oh, there we go. 50. And drum roll, please. Draw. Who is it gonna be?
I like how you're available to be picked. Is that on there?
That'd be really awkward if I won.
That's so close.
That'd be so bad.
Give it to yourself.
Alex Setzer is Beast with the rest of your names cutting off.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everyone that entered. Alex, message me on Instagram, Discord, somewhere. I'll get your contact details and I'll make sure to send you that buff. That'd be really bad. That was crazy.
I mean, you just do it again, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if that would work. I'd have to get everyone in.
Oh, no.
Chat to do it. Yeah.
That would have been disastrous.
Anyways, we're now at the part of the stream where I want to discuss any seasons that you were surprised are in this 20 to 11 rankings, or any season that you're surprised were here and weren't here. I'll start with you, Flynn. Are you surprised any season that didn't make the cut in this 20 to 11 spot?
Oh, that didn't make the cut. Oh, that's an interesting one. Like I said, I thought we'd be a lot higher on our cases. I was surprised last week it was that low as it was. I was interested to see where Gabon would be if like we had super fans would be higher on it, or if like that was more of a casual thing. Those are the only two I'm trying to think that I was some Palau. I know a lot of especially for the old school fans, they really love Palau. If you don't rewatch it, you always remain high on that. So I thought that I'm happy. I'm actually, as someone who's not high on Palau, I'm happy to see seasons like Panama and Vanuatu above it. So yeah, I'm not too. This was kind of the list I was expecting. Like I said, you know me, I think Cook Islands is a little too high, but yeah, that's my take on it.
I'll go with you, Chris, next. Any seasons you're surprised didn't make the cut here?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, when I look at the list, I was probably, and this is something you might ask me a little bit, or I can go into it now, Australian Outback. I would have thought maybe would have sort of crept in here. I think I was higher on that than most people on this. So that one probably for me, I'm surprised not to see it in this ranking. And then probably one that I'm surprised being pretty high. Again, it's no spoiler. Survivor 42, I was extremely low on that. I think I was probably the lowest out of every. It's maybe the one that got the most emotion from me. And I feel maybe it is because you guys have mentioned it is recency bias that is playing, and that's why it is as high as it is right now. But I think that there's a lot game dynamics wise with the game, not the cast, that I'm not happy with Survivor 42. So I think we're ranking it too high personally.
And Wesley, go with you as well. Any seasons you're surprised that didn't make the cut, made the cut? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm actually not surprised. When I got the list, I wasn't surprised at all by this section. I think the previous two podcasts you had done, I was more surprised by those replacements, but these I'm not surprised by. The top 10, now that everyone has to know what top 10 is, you shouldn't be too surprised. But if I were to swap one out of the podcast that we did and replace with one you did last week, I would definitely swap out San Juan del Sur and either swap it with Palau or Gabon. Personally, I would swap with one of those two. Palau, I'm actually surprised. I guess that's the one I'm surprised didn't make it. But to be fair, it was only one spot off. It was number 21. Am I correct on that? Yeah. Palau was number 21. So I'm surprised it didn't make it, but also being 21, like, okay, like it barely missed. So And Flynn, I see that you were a big reason for that.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not.
You made sure it didn't make top 20, which is okay. But yeah, I think if I were to swap anyone, San Juan del Sur, Palau, you swap them. But no huge surprises in this.
I single-handedly put Vanuatu above Palau. There we go.
Yeah. And the whole point, the whole reason we did this was to compare it to the RHAP Survivor season rankings they did prior to season 41. So in that sense, the rankings are going to be a little bit off, a little bit different because we ranked 42 seasons, they ranked 40 seasons.
Yeah.
So just so everyone understands in chat, I'm going to compare our season 20 to 11 with their 20 to 11. So there's going to be a little bit of disparity in that sense. But as a little summary, we had 20 Vanuatu, 19 Exile Island, 18 San Juan del Sur, 17 Samoa, 16 Borneo, 15 Koh Rong, 14 42, 13 Philippines, 12 Cook Islands, and 11 Blood versus Water. Now, in the RHAP end of things, they had number 20, the Australian Outback, 19 Cook Islands, 18 Palau, 17 Koh Rong, 16 San Juan del Sur, 15 Exile Island, 14 Blood versus Water, 13 Borneo, 12 Millennials versus Gen X, and 11 Philippines. So a little difference there. The YouTuber season rankings, Vanuatu and Samoa were lower for RHAP, and Survivor 42 was not out at the time, so you can't compare that. And RHAP decided to include the Australian Outback and Palau in this section. It was way lower for the Survivor YouTubers. And they included Millennials versus Gen X here, which was higher for the YouTubers. So nice little comparison there, comparing the larger Survivor RHAP community at large to our little YouTuber rankings. And now the more fun part, where we get to compare people's specific rankings, because all these YouTubers are only appearing on one live stream, and they had some hot takes throughout that I really want to get into. For example, for myself, we'll talk about next week. I ranked Winners at War the worst out of everyone. I ranked it as the 20th best season of all time. We won't be talking about that till next week. I just a little heads up about that one. We'll go with you, Wes, Once Upon an Island. There's two in general I really wanted to touch on. Okay. You ranked All-Stars, number 37, the worst out of everyone, tied with Peridium. I'd love to know the hate for Survivor All-Stars.
Once again, hate's a strong word. I really dislike All-Stars, and the reason being is because, well, part of it's got to be personal. So on one hand, I probably spent like 5 months on that season making like 9 story videos, and by the end I was like, holy cow, why did no one vote out Boston Rob? It's like banging my head against the wall. It's just not a fun, like once Sesternino goes, it's not fun. It's just not fun. I know Hatch is fun, but Hatch is fun, and then the Sue Hawk thing happens. It's like, and the show just goes, well, that happened, and just like moves on. And if that happened today, it would not have been, well, maybe it would have been on the show, but people in general not been, well, that happened, let's move on. It's such a negative season. It's so hard to rewatch. And the boot order, if it was reversed, I'd be like, that was a good season. Tino wins, Rudy gets second, Sesternino got fourth. That's crazy. You know, I would be like, this is a good season. I like this is a good season. Yeah. But no, it didn't go like that. So it's just and how is this in the same location as Pearl Islands, by the way, shot right after it, and it's like lacking all the fun, and we're in the same location, yet somehow it's uglier? I don't know how that's possible. Right.
Yeah.
So blows my mind. It's funny because when you watch like Palau and Micronesia, it's the same location, but Micronesia is like more beautiful because like they know the location and they understand it better. But All-Stars, like, they regressed, and I don't get it. It's just not fun to watch. It's not fun to look at either. So
yeah, and like actually like visually watching it on the television screen, they turn the brightness down. It's an actual dark season of Survivor.
It is, yeah. It really is.
And then on the other end of things for Wes, the only other one I want to touch on with you, you ranked Edge of Extinction the 8th best season of all time. You ranked it higher than me.
I'm out of here.
I love
Chris is so mad. I'm freaking out of here.
I love the Edge of Extinction, and you ranked it higher than me. Why?
Okay, so I had to pull. By the way, I had to go pull up my rankings. I'm like, what is he talking about? I did that. Okay, yeah, there it is. So as I said, I just did it off the cuff the day you asked. Good. Edge of Extinction, yeah. Hot take. Here it comes. I put it above Heroes versus Villains because I feel like I've watched Heroes versus Villains so many times that it's kind of like lost the luster of the craziness. Edge of Extinction I've watched twice, if that. Like I think I've watched it. I watched it once when it aired, and then I watched it again out of morbid curiosity. Like Chris won. It's only better on a rewatch. It's not the first time through, and then Chris wins. You're like, is this Survivor? Like what Chris here is saying, which I'm sure is why you put it as your worst. But for me, it's a fun watch, especially knowing that we're building up the arch nemesis with not Russell. I almost said Russell. Holy crap, Rick Devens. Yes, with Rick Devens, we're building up the whole time with Chris Underwood. There's my whole table with Chris Underwood, literally undercutting Rick Devens. That finale is like top 5 finale for me, just because it's like a movie by itself. It's a movie. Though I do understand the sentiment that what are we watching all these episodes for, just for Chris to win? Like, I get it. I get it. I do not.
Hey, it could be a fun reality TV show. It's just not Survivor.
Yeah, I don't knock anybody for not liking it. I just personally, it's like such an off season. It's like the only season on here that like stands. Like I know they do it again in Winners at War, but in Winners at War, Natalie doesn't win there. And also we got a really large focus on Natalie, so it didn't feel like so out of left field that she came back. Here it's like out of left field, Chris comes back, and therefore makes it feel really different from all the other seasons. So I like EOE. What else can I say?
And just as you were finishing up that thought, we hit over 100 likes.
Crap.
So chat, I will talk to
Get
Wes.
the Uber Eats, stay on the live, keep going. Keep
It's
going.
not happening tonight, but at some point I will get in touch with Wes.
Heart attack medicine.
And we will make this happen. I'll try my best to convince him to do this.
Have Wes host it.
If not, I'll do it myself, but he's going to do it. I guarantee I can convince him to do it. Going back on the Survivor chat.
Oh no, Chris, I'll eat it. I'm just not going to like it.
Oh, okay, good. We'll have a competition. We'll see who gets more.
Get Flynn in on this.
Yeah. Chris, there's a lot here I want to dive into, so we can see. I for Wes, I had 2. For you, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rankings that I thought, whoa, these are a little different. So I'm gonna do the biggest ones. You ranked Australian Outback the best out of everyone, so touch on that one first.
Yeah, listen, you mentioned that I think it was Cook Island. That was your first season that you ever watched. So I started watching Survivor when Borneo was on, but at the merge was kind of when I first discovered this thing, as a kid watching it. And Australian Outback was the first season I watched from the beginning to the end. And Australian Outback, for that very reason, holds a very dear place in my heart, which I can understand for people who got into the show at season 20 or maybe as a newer school fan of the show, why they wouldn't rank Australian Survivor so high, because yes, it is a bit more slow paced. But for me, that was kind of where the love of Survivor started, was the Australian Outback. And also it was where I learned a very, very valuable lesson about Survivor. And that is that your favorite doesn't always win, because my favorite was Colby Donaldson. I, as a young kid, looked up to him. I wanted to be Colby Donaldson, the Texan boy going out there, winning immunities, getting to the end, bulldozing his way there. And then Tina, outfoxed them and strategized better and won that season. And now in hindsight, I can go back and appreciate that. But I think because it taught me this valuable lesson about Survivor, that, different people can win it differently, and it's not always going to be your favorite. That's why it holds a dear spot in my heart. And I think it was one of the toughest seasons, which I enjoyed seeing, being somewhere different, not an island location. It stands out, similar to Africa, where those 2 seasons, I think I would have ranked both of them high. It's 2 seasons that definitely for me would be top 10 or close to top 10 seasons.
And then when we go on the opposite end of things, you, a lover of the old school seasons and a lover of the classics, you rank Survivor Marquesas as the 37th best season of all time, 37th worst, which was close to the worst ranking out of everyone. So I'd love to know, for being such a lover of Australian Outback, Africa, these old school type seasons, why Marquesas just doesn't do it for you.
Why do you hate Vesepia?
Yeah. No, I don't mind Vesepia as a winner. It's just a season that, again, I'll be honest, I've watched it once and I haven't gone back, and I got into it very late. It was in a time where Survivor, I think I just moved to England during that time as well, so it wasn't as freely available as some of the seasons that I watched when I was still in South Africa. So it was one of those seasons I just never really fell in love with or went back to watch after I watched it once, and I watched it quite late the first time. And there was some characters in it. gameplay was slower compared to what I guess it is now. But it's just, I think it was because I really struggled to identify with anyone that season. I just didn't have my person that I was shouting for. And I've never understood why people liked Rob so much in that first season. And when he came back for All-Stars, it was a big question mark for me. It's probably one of the reasons why All-Stars, I didn't rank it as lowly as West, but I think as Rob came back, I understand now what he is to Survivor and why, I don't want to disrespect. He's definitely one of the greats. He's definitely a Mount Rushmore. But I just didn't fall in love with him in that first season, and I didn't have my person that I really was behind.
Yeah, and then any others in your rankings you want to defend? Any hot takes that you see differentiating from anything else? Are you good to go there?
No, listen, I don't have the rankings up in front of me right now to sort of go into it. But I think the interesting thing is that Survivor as a whole is such a big show with so many great seasons, right? And no matter if it's season 40, season 42, or season 1, Survivor is still bloody great. Like, I mean, I went in hard on season 42 in this podcast, but I still love Survivor. That's why I'm going to be podcasting. I mean, we have to have a certain level of love for the game to podcast about it, and that's why I'll be talking about 43, right? Otherwise, you'll just sit on the side. So I think the beauty of this is that if we do this ranking in a year's time, it may look different. I don't know if the top 5 will look different, but different people value different things about this show. And just because I rank differently to you guys, or you guys rank differently to me, I respect all of the opinions, the same for everybody in the live, because I'm sure there's opinions that we had here today you guys don't agree with, and that's what makes Survivor so fun, is the fact that we're all so different and we all appreciate different things about the show. So I want to leave us with that.
That was beautiful. Yeah,
let's go ahead and end it.
Some final thoughts before we go. Make sure to come back next Friday for the final of these live streams as we go through seasons ranked number 10 to the number 1, the best season of all time. It might surprise you. I would love to hear some early predictions down in the comments down below or in chat of where you expect the top 10 were generally to be, number 10 to number 1. If you watched all 3 of these live streams so far, you know what the top 10 are going to be. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. We'll be joined by Ethan, Ethmanuel, the Survivor Geek, and possibly a surprise guest. So stay tuned for that. For me personally, if you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe to my channel as I go on a rampage to try and pass Russell Hanson subscribers. I promise it might happen one day, maybe. Also, this week, I'll be posting my top 10 bold predictions for Survivor 43. The Nullified take, what can people expect to see from you in the coming weeks?
Well, we've just finished off with Survivor South Africa Return of the Outcast, as you can see here on the cap. There will be some... Oh, thank you. There will be some exit interviews happening with the winner and some other players from that season on the channel, as well as we'll be covering Survivor 43 as soon as that comes out, and we're covering the Challenge USA currently as well. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday evenings on the live stream each week. Next week will be the finale for the Challenge USA, and also look out for The Amazing Race. So the next will probably be Survivor 43 and The Amazing Race USA. Those will be the next 2 shows I'll be covering on the Nullified Take channel, and we're always doing that live on Fridays.
Awesome. And Wes, Once Upon an Island, what can people expect for you in the coming weeks leading up to 43?
So scripted video wise, Earl's story video goes up on Monday. And then with podcast wise, I have Mary and I are doing our weekly podcast for 43. I have winter analysis. It's going to be randomly throughout the season with another special guest who nobody knows, just special guest for me. And then my sister and I are going to occasionally jump into The Amazing Race when we have time, because who knew they were going to be at the same time? I'm glad they are as a fan, but it does make podcasting about both harder. So there will be podcasts about that. But yeah, Earl's story videos on Monday. So the original King of Fiji. That's what it's called.
Thank you. And Flynnmasters, I know you're a viral sensation Hell's Kitchen YouTuber now, but what can people expect from you in the coming weeks?
Like I said, some more fun Hell's Kitchen content. Even if you're not a fan of the show, it's still always fun to watch that type of stuff. And like I said, whether it's 2 weeks from now, what's up, Eth? Whether 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, I will get back on the Survivor in Blake Minutes video every Wednesday before the new episode, which again, for those of you who don't know, is what it sounds like. It's an entire Survivor season summed up in like 16, 17 minutes, breaking down the vote-offs, the alliances, the big moments of the season, and kind of an easy way to rewatch the entire Survivor season as best you can. Without actually having to rewatch, all the episodes and whatnot, So try to do like Guatemala to Heroes versus Villains during Survivor 43. And yeah, it should be fun to get back into Survivor content again.
Thank you everyone in chat for participating. It's always been so much fun. I want to keep doing these live streams. Peace.